Hello there and welcome. In this video, we are going to be doing a bit of a challenge, and it goes as follows. We start out with a driver, which is 1 in every stat, but with maximized potential, which will give us a terrible driver that is going to quickly improve. Now, the challenge is to take this driver and actually make them good enough to win a title without bankrupting our team in the process, as they are going to be ridiculously crash prone. Now, this idea was proposed months ago by one of my viewers, Nobody, and I've finally gotten around to give it a go myself. When Nobody did it, they said they won their first race in the 2031 season, so we even have a bit of a deadline to beat here. Now, with that introduction out of the way, let's just jump straight into it. To get started, we create our team and we call it one stat in reference to the challenge. To make it slightly harder for ourselves, we do start with the worst background settings. Next up, we need to create our prodigy. The game plays a bit of a prank on us here and actually gives us a driver named Hayes. And with the recent release of the F1 movie, I decide I have to stick with it. Now, because I'm lazy and want to give myself a little bit of a helping hand, I decide to keep our staff at around 80 rating. And we do select the Mercedes powertrain components as they're going to be the hardest ones to break. And with the driver that will be seeing the wall in basically every race, that is going to help us out just a little bit. We get up ourselves some nice team colors, a nice car, and with everything now set up, we are ready to jump into our first season here with Hayes and see just how many DNFs we can rack up. Okay, so Keith here does not like anything right now. The car performance, the staff, the facilities. You have one stat, my guy. You are 1 overall, and you hate everything. And because of you... Because of the negatives here, we're down to 0 in performance ratings. That is wild. But yeah, private development is going to be our job here. The development rate is already at maximum, so that is fine. We are going to be building the race sim and memorabilia room. All these buildings are going to be our priority in the first season. And of course, we are going to want to renew this contract as soon as possible. As mentioned, our first season's priorities will be the facilities, mainly our race simulator, and because we've signed both Antonelli and Hayes, we're actually in a very healthy financial situation, as both of them have fairly low wages that will cost us only around 2 million a year. Basically, some of our affiliates might actually cost us more than our drivers. Now, because of this, we'll have plenty of room to upgrade our buildings, or rather our facilities, provided we don't crash every single race. Now, starting out with Hayes, I decided to keep him on balanced development. Now, I will later come to regret this decision, but that is a discovery for later. Our starting moves are to upgrade our race sim and start a chassis design before we sign with our sponsors. Now, keep in mind that certain sponsors are still fairly bugged, and we do pick up a couple of these, let's say, interesting bugged sponsors as our secondary sponsors, which will become more apparent later. And with the sponsor deal here being nearly 87 million in potential money, we are very happy about our starting situation here. After starting with a very standard spread here, everything but front wing and rear wing, we're also going to go ahead and do a little bit of facility work, because what we want here is to get the team hub up and running as soon as possible, so get that done immediately, as well as the memorabilia room for that extra mentality boost. We're also going to want to get marketability up quite a bit going into next year, so we're going to be focusing on upgrading the hospitality, the memorabilia, basically anything that would help us out here. I'm also going to go ahead here and start upgrading the tour center, because it's going to help get marketability up. It's also going to help getting mentality up down the line. And honestly, we might as well also get started working on the helipad here. Generally, we usually wait a little bit with upgrading these in order to use them as basically mentality buff, as you're seeing right now. Both of our boys have gotten a little bit happier, but for the time being, we can't really do that. Secondly, we are going to take our affiliates here. We're going to put them all on marketability, and honestly, we should consider getting 1 or 2 more affiliates just to ensure that we can meet our marketing goals here. Currently, we need quite a bit of engagement, and honestly, reaching that level of engagement is going to be a little bit difficult here, as you all are probably seeing. We might not actually reach this level of engagement. We're going to have to sacrifice Hayes. We'll lose a little bit of performance rating here, but that 4.4 million is hugely important to upgrade buildings. So we're going to hit this engagement goal, And we're probably going to go ahead here and try and get our hands on another target. Hayes just had his first incident. It took him actually quite a while and wasn't as detrimental as we would have had thunk. He did a spin. And Alonso just gets taken out there by Hayes. Hayes, after his violence committee meeting with Alonso here, did end up in 5 laps behind. And we basically do have a lot of work ahead of us. We have our first driver development update here for Hayes, and he's been given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stat points. Antonelli, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stat points. So Antonelli actually grew more than Hayes, which means that potentially here, results will matter a little bit. But I'm not too happy about where those stat points went, but honestly, he is balanced. We'll have to see just how well the balanced growth actually balances. But yeah, this is going to be painful if it's 7 points a month, as that translates to just 80, 90 points a year, which is 10 overall. Don't get me bad, it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not terrible, but it is going to require some work here to get Hayes that title. The first season research has started here. It's a 10% to everything, which is actually huge for us because, well, the AI suck at research. At Emilia Romagna, we scored our first points here with Antonelli, and Hayes had another crash.
Oh, that's quite an impact between them. Clearly unable to take evasive.
He's 11 minutes behind the leaders, and somehow that is just 3 laps here. I think this is supposed to be 13. 11 laps is what it says here instead of the 3 we saw earlier. Hayes has kept a little bit higher than 50% DNFs, but surprisingly enough, has not destroyed the powertrain too badly here. We are on our second engine, we're on our second gearbox. The first ERS here has kind of reached its end, but most of Hayes' crashes have been pretty minor, and as such, at the halfway point in the season, if we can keep it out of the wall, basically Hayes isn't driving quick enough to destroy the car. That is literally what is happening right here, and he is still driving an extra weight car because I want to use up the base pass before we do anything else. Our first season here has reached its end with Carlos Sainz winning in Abu Dhabi. However, Hayes has once again DNF'd, and Antonelli got close to points, but honestly, anything more than 18th is something we would be very, very happy with. Driver's then, Verstappen takes the title. Hayes pulls off 17 DNFs in a 24 race season. Almost 75% of races have been DNF'd. And surprisingly enough, it hasn't actually been that expensive. We ended up 7th here with 12 points, purely from Antonelli. Honestly, just beating Alpine here and finishing, well, Williams, really, and finishing 9th would have been more than enough. But we have been able to put in a decent amount of work on the car. So next year, it's looking a lot better. We might try and do something truly insane and try and push for a win in the 4th season, or rather the 3rd season. We'll see. That would be quite insane here. When the 9th of December, Hayes has gotten very little improvements going. We're barely above 10 in most of these stats with mentality. As you can imagine, this is still going to be quite the journey. Financially, we aren't doing too shabbily here. We have 10 million in the bank. We have upgraded our facilities, particularly our team hub and now the race sim. Both of those have reached level 5. Operations are looking good. Hospitality, I decided to just stop at 3 here and focus on getting the team hub as well as the race sim up and running. They are more important. And as I mentioned here, surprisingly enough, Hayes hasn't actually destroyed too many components. We are kind of running out of car parts here at the end of the season, but that's just fine. We basically just have what's on the cars with the exception of the underfloor. But for the most of Hayes' crashes here, the thing that has been destroyed has just been the front wings. So they haven't been excessively devastating to the team. They've been costly, of course. They haven't been excessively devastating. And as you can see, we've even been able to save an extra engine from Hayes. He hasn't had any tremendously bad crashes. He has 17 DNFs, and he's barely just ruined 2 gearboxes. That should tell you everything that you need to know about his crashes here. He did destroy an ERS that we needed to rebuy, but that is literally it. So as it turns out, having a 1 overrated driver in the first season at least, he's driving so slowly that he doesn't actually manage to destroy the car. With season 1 behind us and Hayes reaching 8 overall, we enter our second season with a max race simulator, which should give us far more growth than we had in season 1. We start off this season by signing our sponsorships, and we get buffs through them to our team hub, our staff development, and our factory. Our goal for this second season is just to continue the growth from last season with a larger focus on the car itself, as our main facilities have now come online. The second season does have the big regulation change, and this is where I want to do a bit of an insane gamble. So basically, we haven't really done any designs up to this point, just the basic ones for every car part. We saved our CFD time. We're going to go full in on research this season and see if we can somehow snatch Hayes a win in season 3. I don't think it's going to be very likely, but I want to try it. Player has defended well at home, and second place is pretty much what we're going to get here, and that should ensure the board will be happy with us this season. We'll take that second place finish. Ace, just 3 laps down this time compared to 11 before. Did get saved a little bit by safety car, probably going to add 2 laps from that. But we've already cut down deficit by half. Keep this up, in 2 seasons' time, he'll just be 1 lap down. Season here has reached its conclusion. We had the slowest, well, second slowest pit stops. Italy is not happy about that. Medium confidence from the board, as we did fail to reach 7th, which was the board objective. 8 is what we got. Our staff has also seen tremendous growth, including Hayes here, who's now up to 18 overall, meaning that he has grown 10 overall this season with a month to go. So that is not terribly bad. Antonelli is up to 85 here, and honestly, as his growth keeps on progressing too, he's probably gonna become a bit of an issue. Red Bull almost beat 1,000 points this season. We only scored 34, all of them scored by Antonelli, of course. In terms of the work that we've done, fairly happy. Now, I did make a few parts too many, because honestly, Hayes has been less injury, or rather crash prone. The second half of the season has actually been pretty insane. And in terms of powertrain components, we only need to buy 1 extra engine here for Hayes. We've been fine with the ERSs and other components here for the other cars. So basically, just 1 extra engine. And with that, we've actually saved a ton of money this season. We're up to 35 in the bank. We have done an upgrade on the suspension and car part test center, but that is really about it alongside the hospitality area. Not too much money has been spent. Staff building, we're currently refurbishing the race sim, and we have been able to keep the team hub up and running. The weekly development has now reached 177% buff. But this season has gone pretty much as expected. We have had a lot of DNFs. Hayes has had 13. That is 4 less than last season. So as you can see here, the damage has been a little bit more contained. His DNFs haven't been super detrimental to the team, and that is what we like to see. Yeah, the season is over. We're going to prepare for the 3rd season, which is basically our first chance getting a chance at Hayes scoring points, I think. That's our sponsorships here. We have reached all of our targets. Basis for the engagement. We have some hot lap experience, which makes for money. 24 million for race targets is not a lot of money, particularly when we used to get a lot more of that. But it is good enough. 33 million from engagement. We'll take that, and the mandatory activities, which basically were mainly engagement targets. So marketability is not terrible. And in terms of Hayes here, 0 points, 34 for Antonelli. Team rating goes up a little bit, and as you can see, we did fail the objective here. And as such, I've lost a little bit of team principal rating, but honestly, not a huge deal. So the final update here for Hayes this season, we have reached 20 in a few stats here, 3 of them actually. Adaptability, overtaking, and braking. Cornering is still a lower stat. No, sorry, smoothness is a lower stat. The cornering has finally caught up after 2 seasons running balanced. We might try and increase pace stats next season, but honestly, control is still too low, and honestly, every single stat is too low that they leave us with some pretty severe weaknesses. So I think we'll just stick to what we're doing for now. Regulation changes. Balance. We have a decent amount of funding here in terms of research. We are losing a little bit of performance, but in the important aspects, we're not losing too much. We're losing 13% here for the suspension. We are losing quite a bit more, really, for the cornering, about half of the performance, but we're going to CFD the underfloor anyway, so this is going to cancel itself out pretty quickly. Sideboards are going to need some work this season. Rear wing, and the research that we did has actually been more than enough. We're actually going to see increased performance, the important aspects of drag, delta, and medium speed. We're going to see something similar here for front wing. Losing a little bit of low speed, but honestly, front and the rear wings aren't actually losing much performance in what we say is important. And for the chassis here, it doesn't have the best similar fate really to the other parts. So all in all, we are going to have to put in some effort, but we should have, I would think, the best car this coming season. We're going to stick with Mercedes engines and components simply because Hayes still has 30 DNFs in 2 seasons. Let's ask again, 30 DNFs in 2 seasons. That is wild, no matter how you want to put it. But our car is certainly the best out of anyone right now. 30 air tolerance is our only lacking aspect. So with that in mind, I am tempted to try and push the car to its limit going into Bahrain and see if we maybe can do something miraculous, like getting Hayes, a 18 overall driver at this moment, a podium or a win. This season, we also continue picking sponsors that gives buff to our buildings, and we picked 3 of them, and once again, a pretty solid sponsorship going. Nearly 0.200 low speed advantage, similarly for the medium, and we have more than 200 for the high speed. It's a lot, but I don't think it's going to be enough for Hayes to really be able to contend with them, I'm not going to lie. Ferrari, which is another challenger, it's a very similar picture. They're a little bit worse off than Red Bull. But all in all, I think this is going to be our best opportunity to get anything done here with Hayes until it grows to probably 60, which at this rate would take us an additional 4 seasons. Really wish I had the second times right now to see the difference between our boys, but I don't have the extended UI on, unfortunately. Yeah, you can already see the gap starting to form. Bottas is keeping up. He is faster, and Hayes did also spin there, so yeah, that kind of messes with it just a little bit. That's also quite a violent spin, so yeah, that is not great. Find just a good window to send him out, and I think we've achieved that. Danny Rick there with a lockup. Hayes could get caught here by Hamilton a little bit, but I think we'll be fine. Magnussen, not Hayes, having a lockup is very important. Yellow sectors here, though, is not what we were looking for. And even with a extremely dominant car, Hayes is dead last still. Needs gonna need those stat points for sure, which means we'll have to develop him for the next couple of seasons. Now, for Antonelli, I don't want to win this season, so we're probably going to pick up a win here with him. That's just inevitable. But we might put on some of the low-spec parts just to ensure that he is in the around the top 10 area. 18th place at the moment does seem to be a fairly decent result here for Hayes. No points, probably a little bit more than I could have hoped for here. And if we take a look at the gaps, we're a good 20, 30, 35-ish seconds behind. Well, 40 seconds more like it, behind points here in Bahrain. So we're definitely going to need to put in a little bit more effort, either developing the car or developing Hayes. And honestly, I think developing Hayes is going to be our best bet. He is currently keeping up with Verstappen, however. He's not doing a terrible job. Antonelli takes the win here, almost lapping the entire grid, which gives you an idea of just how strong this car is. So Hayes is still just severely hampered by his skills more so than anything else. We might want to focus a little bit on pace stats because it seems like when I take manual control, he'll still have a couple of minor incidents. But maybe we should focus on Hayes for a season or two, just get those stats up a little bit more. Yeah, I think at this point, we're going to try and experiment a little bit. Having it on balance is usually fine for most drivers, but in Hayes' case here, the cornering is lagging so far behind. The smoothness is another issue. And while we could do long runs to fix the smoothness, I think we'll do short runs here for cornering, braking, and accuracy. 3 very important stats. And then we'll just have to try and get some control somewhere else later. Control, smoothness, accuracy. We might do this one later. At this rate, I think we're going to probably max out adaptability first. So let's do short runs this season. See if that is going to help us out here, basically. Our third season is coming to close. We weren't even close at getting Hayes a single point yet. Nelly has done a pretty good season here, but couldn't beat Verstappen as they developed. And that is unfortunately just how it went. Verstappen had more podiums. We have more race wins. So, well, we were quicker. Antonelli wasn't really able to capitalize with all of our simulations. And Hayes has kept up the DNFs at 15 this year. We finished third in the Constructors, which is kind of bad for us from a development perspective, but honestly, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Now, we did also go ahead and change how we focused on driver development, which we'll take a quick look at in just a second. But we did finish third in the pit stops. It's good. Extra 9.5 million. We now have 43 million in the bank. Facilities wise, we haven't actually upgraded anything this season. We do have still the need to refurbish the team hubs. We still have the need to refurbish, or rather keep up the race sim. It just did get refurbished. And our weekly development here for the team hub has gone up to about 250%. We can probably bring it over 300% with the addition of a couple more affiliates. Affiliates actually scale the weekly development here, hilariously enough. And with it, we now have 95 and 96 rated race engineers. Our staff is similarly high rated. And generally here, we have just given everyone contract extensions, particularly Harmon here. They've been given 5 years contracts for both him and Sinelli. So we'll be keeping them for the foreseeable future. And as you can imagine, they are now the highest rated staff you can get. So the bug here, where you can kind of stack development, has definitely worked out in our favor. Now, fourth season is going to be upon us. We have focused on developing Hayes cornering, braking, accuracy, and adaptability. As you can see, they've taken leaps and bounds ahead of everything else. And if we go back here in my inbox and find the private development update, we can see his actual stats. So we're at 38 for cornering, 40 for braking, 35 for accuracy, and 39 for adaptability. So this has sped up progression quite a bit that we've focused on these stats. And honestly, I do kind of regret that we didn't do this from the get-go. Because let's face it, I probably was a bit greedy trying to go balance here. I thought, oh, worst case scenario, it will take like 6-7 seasons, then we'll get there. I think it would have been a better idea to just do this from the get-go. Focus on cornering, braking, accuracy, and adaptability, because it's just there. Get these up to probably 70, maybe 80 within the first 4 seasons. That is somewhat realistic. And then try from there to take the title with a highly developed car, or we focus on increasing our control and smoothness. Our new season here, the ball wants us to finish third or above, and the long-term objective is Constructors Champion before 2031. Financially, we're solid. Technical here, research has good. We've beaten the suspension research. I'm pretty sure we did not beat the underfloor, but that's mainly because it was airflow sensitivity. And the underfloor is still already rather at around 70% when it comes to cornering. Suspension, we put a lot of work in here to keep the airflow going. It is still losing a little bit of airflow front, so we do still need to put a little bit of work in there. The rear wing here has seen massive upgrades. This basically translates to about 20% gain. 15% for high speed, 15% for low speed as well. So all in all, the gains here have been huge for the rear wing, for the front wing. Similarly, we are focused on trying to counter the airflow frontier. We kind of failed at that. We just barely got the same number, but we're getting a lot more tire preservation. Chassis, same thing. So the chassis, the front wing, and to some degree the suspension here and the side pod is basically what we need to work on. We can ignore the underfloor and the rear wing this coming season. Yeah, nothing except for the safety wind tunnel in terms of regulations. We will stick to Mercedes because Hayes is still basically doing a destruction derby. 30 overall now, which is great. Facility effectiveness here from Firearm. We'll take that. For staff development rate from Henrik. Driver development from Ferro Energy. This one is the main one that we've been looking for. We haven't really been getting it. Facility effectiveness from Raka. So yeah, this season we've actually had some pretty nuts sponsorships here. All things considered. This is the big one. The main sponsor doesn't really do anything for you. You are looking for Ferro Energy as a secondary sponsor for that extra driver development rate. In this case, it is going to get applied to driver 1. And I maybe should go over this a little bit earlier to explain why we have such a strong economy. We're paying Hayes 100,000 a year. Basically, this man's paycheck is actually used to just give him a new car every race. That's literally where his paycheck goes. Antonelli, we renewed his contract early, so we're just paying him just under 8 million for a 90 rated driver. So financially, we are excessively strong. We're barely paying any salaries. But with every part that we've now put on the car, we're back to basically last season where we had an advantage in everything but dirty air tolerance. The only difference here really is the fact that Hayes has 20 more points in braking, cornering, and accuracy. Thereabouts. So we'll have to see if that will be enough to make a difference this time around. We can only hope. But yeah, if we compare to the Red Bull, which was the strongest car last season, we don't have as big of an advantage. It's down to 110 here instead of 200. 130, 140-ish here instead of 200. And less than 200 here. So we are definitely a lot closer than we used to be. And that is going to mean that it's going to be a closer fight, which is going to be way more difficult for Hayes. We'll have to see if we can actually do anything this season. But let's go to Bahrain. Let's see where quality places us. So Hayes is a little closer to his teammate this time around, 1.4 seconds behind. Just 1.1 second behind Sainz at the moment. So maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to get Hayes his first Q2 appearance. Still remains to be seen, however. We do have other teams that need to set lap times. But in theory, Hayes might have a bit of a season here where he'll be a little bit more competitive than what we have been used to. Currently, we just need to basically find a very good window to send our boy out in. And honestly, I don't think it really exists. So we're going to try and sneak out here behind Porsche. And hopefully it'll give us just that little bit of breathing space that Hayes will need. And it does look like we did find that. Green in the first sector, green in the second. A little bit of traffic there, which might knock him out. And it does, in fact, knock him out by 1/10 of a second here. But Hayes is definitely more competitive this season compared to the last. So if we put in a decent amount of work here, maybe, just maybe, next year, we'll have a chance. I'm still going to see if we can do something here in Bahrain, because we aren't too far off right now. We did not qualify last, a second of basically everyone. We are within graphs. 29.7, 28.5, 1.2 seconds behind Verstappen. It's not terrible for a 30 rated driver. So Hayes has actually been somewhat competitive this race. He's currently running in 11th here. As you can see, we are looking for another pit stop. But we have yet to be lapped, which is one of the huge things here. But honestly, seeing that Russell 2 is a full minute behind Antonelli here, and Hayes is basically just 40 seconds behind Sainz, I'd say we've done some pretty good upgrades here. And honestly, as I mentioned here, as the rest start pitting, I do regret that we didn't just go all in on short pace the first couple of seasons. We might need to revisit this challenge. But for now, Hayes is doing good. We are at peak confidence, which is helping our stats a lot more, as we've apparently been part of an incident by looks of it. That sucks. We've spun. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about the stats, and then Hayes just a little bit of a Spinderella move. Not as brutal as we have seen in earlier seasons, but yeah, I was talking about how the confidence here would help us. Breaking now is up to almost 60 with the confidence boost, with the mentality and everything. So as you can see, this is helping us. So if we can get, the pace stats up to 70 or so, we might have a chance, even if Hayes will every now and again do something stupid. And that was the worst place that he could have been overtaken there by Antonelli. Lost so much time that it's not even funny to think about. We will pin on this following lap though and see if maybe, just maybe, we can get Hayes some points. I don't think so. I think the spin and the lapping there just cost us too much, and confidence is being lost at the moment. And to make matters worse, he has now been involved in an incident here as he rear ends Magnussen. As you can see, Magnussen gets sent to the Shadow Realm. And with that, we're kind of out of it. We've been lapped once, but the reality here is we would not be lapped by a different team, I think. So for Hayes here, it is actually looking pretty good. You can actually see him here. There's Verstappen. If it didn't crash, probably could have survived till the end. Fortunately for Hayes here, we are just going to have to try and get to the end of this race now. The season here has reached its conclusion, with Antonelli taking the driver's title. Pretty convincingly, 17 wins. Hayes continues his 0 points, but sets a new record for the lowest number of DNFs, which is 12. And we do finish third in Constructors, which means we'll have some CFD next year. It's not terrible. All in all, it's been a pretty decent season. Hayes has grown a ton. The overall has increased to 43 last I checked. And that is pretty nuts. 44, as it turns out. Now, I do regret one thing here, and that is that we didn't put him on cornering, braking, accuracy, and adaptability from the get-go. If we did, we might have had a snowball chance in hell of doing something on the third season. I might revisit this challenge in the future where I do give myself maxed facilities, and we just see if we can get Hayes a title in Season 3. As things stand, we'll do one more season of growth. And once we've done that, we'll be trying to take the title. So basically, the goal here is going to be a title in 29. Provided, of course, so we don't crash a lot. But when you take manual control of your drivers, control matters a lot less, simply because you can minimize risk. Done. That's drive development here. We got 3 points braking, 2 points cornering, 3 adaptability, 2 accuracy. So as you can see, Hayes is growing pretty quickly. Regulation changes, we're getting a really, really good one. We're getting an extra engine, ERS, and gearbox. We had to buy one engine for him this season. That is it. This is going to be very, very helpful. We also had a very good technical regulation. It's been low speed, medium, and high speed. And this is going to hamper the AI next season compared to us. So if we can get another good research for 2028 to going into 2029, I think we'll have a fairly good chance at pulling off something pretty amazing. But I might just be a little bit too hopeful. We'll see. Going into our 5th season here, Board is happy we'll be having the objective 3rd or above. And honestly, it's basically the same that we did this season. It's very doable. Balance, we have 50 million in the bank. We've done a lot of upgrades. We still need to put one more upgrade on each of the suspension and car test sims, as well as 2 design upgrades. That should be doable with our financial power before we go into next year, which is going to be the big one. As for research suspension here, we have not actually lived up to the regulation change. The suspension is focused on tire preservation and drag reduction more than anything else, so keeping it somewhat in line is more than enough for me. Underfloor is actually more important to keep up in terms of cornering, but I think we'll just do the classic thing and CFD it at the start of the season. That will solve that issue. The rear wing here has outdone the regulation change in low speed, not in medium, which is the important part, but we've gained a decent chunk of other things too. Front wing, we have not been able to keep that amazing front wing of ours going. 30% was hit a little bit hard, even with 2 CFD periods. We've lost about 10% of performance. So we're definitely going to be CFDing the front wing, the rear wing, and the underfloor this season. Chassis has seen a almost 10% across the board. Side pods, not as much. 5% in basically the care about right now, drag reduction and airflow middle, as our cooling is just high enough that we don't need to be concerned about it. Yeah. With the new rules to gearbox, ERSs, and engines, going to be very, very happy this year. We're still going to stick with Mercedes. And once we do push for the win, we are going to be switching over to Honda. That is simply just going to give us a little bit extra oomph from the engine themselves that we will very likely need. Micro performance drops off a little bit here, nothing major. ATR has begun. And with that, we are just going to get started signing the car at the start of the season. As you can see, we're still the first best team when it comes to preservation, high, medium, and low speed, but we are getting caught up here when it comes to top speed and DRS effectiveness. Similarly to previous seasons, we picked the sponsorships here that gives us buffs. Firmstar will give us facility effectiveness. We'll get some drive development rate from Ferro NRG. Henrik will give us the staff development rate. And then we have more facility effectiveness from Vonv. Raka as well. So honestly, all in all, this should help us out. I would really love to know which facility, as I'm a little bit unsure. That's going to imagine getting these buffs from your sponsors is actually pretty huge, particularly as they do seem to carry over between seasons, which makes them even more nuts. So if we take a look at the facilities right now, Team Hub is up to 314%. Race Sim is still at the 50%. But yeah, the Team Hub here is definitely becoming a lot better than we anticipated. Which other buildings are getting a buff right now? None of the operations facilities. The effectiveness of our factory is also huge. We have 10 project capacity. So as you can imagine here, we don't need to upgrade our factory at any point. Science Center is not getting buffed. We're actually getting buffed in the effectiveness of our CFD sim. And I haven't actually tested this, but this could potentially make the CFD sim worth it. I assume this is Vaughn. Yeah. We'll have to deal with that when we get there. For now, time to start designing. And we'll start with, as I mentioned, the underfloor. It has lost a lot of its cornering ability. Low speed isn't really what it's good at. Don't get me wrong. But I do want to keep everything at a high level. And 4.42 here translates to 71%. And of course, we want to get that a little bit higher. The medium speed here, this translates to 74. We want to try and get everything to 80 or above. And honestly, I might want to try and invest a little bit in drag reduction here, just to get that a little bit higher, because it is falling behind a little bit. Maybe that'll be the next thing we focus on in terms of research. We'll do 20 days here for this project. We start on the chassis. Similarly to how we usually do it, we just do it like this. Brush it, put an engineer on it to get that one done in 20 days as well. Finally, we'll do the same here for the side pod. It is time now to just sacrifice cooling. We have more than enough of it. So we can sacrifice it to basically make our lives a little bit easier. As tire preservation, it is getting up there. We're going to be over 90%. This will help out a lot with the weakness that our driver has. And that weakness is, of course, the straight up lack of smoothness for Keith here. 21 at the moment. We have a bit of a problem here, and that problem's name is Max Verstappen. But we can remove that problem in the silliest way possible. So Verstappen here is going to be a bit of an issue. He has always been a bit of an issue, but his contract is running out. And because of the game being silly, we can do something pretty insane, and that is to sign on Max Verstappen as an affiliate. We're basically going to be spending about 31 million next season. Well, next couple of seasons, just keeping him as an affiliate, but it would remove him from the picture. So I'll think about this, but it is definitely doable. And that's the thing. If you can pick up Verstappen as an affiliate, as you can imagine, that would solve a lot of problems. As we get started with qualifying here, Hayes is going to try and make it into Q2 for the first time ever. And looking at us just being 6 cents off Antonelli's time here is promising, but I do believe Antonelli did get held up a little bit. But maybe, just maybe, this will be the season where we push Hayes to his limit. As I've said, you can minimize the damage, or not really the damage. You can minimize the loss of performance, if you will, or rather the risk. Let me restart. We can minimize the risk that the low control gives us by simply having Hayes run more controlled. Turn him to low risk options, slow overtake, aggression, low, or rather, don't defend. That is going to give us a chance for Hayes to do something. And as things stand, Hayes here does look poised to get into Q3 even. So yeah, the pace stats definitely what we wanted to focus on. I do regret throwing away a couple of seasons by just basically doing... Well, in reality, we threw away one season because, as it turns out, he's getting a little over 20 points per season as things stand in each of the 4 stats. So reality is we threw away about 1 season worth of performance gain for Hayes. But if this alone now is enough where he can be competitive, he lost 4% more on his tires than Antonelli. So as you can see, the low smoothness is also hurting him.
The action closely here, and that's the moment they lose it. In the end, just a...
To be fair though, the spins have become, less and less aggressive with each passing season. And honestly, I don't think we need to go out again, so we'll just save those tires for the final run in Q3. Ooh, okay, Hayes, please. Stroll, you legend. Stroll knocks out Russell there, just barely. Paris is still driving. That's also a little bit nuts, but yeah. But if we take a look at Hayes here, what is your stats right now? 75, 79, 76. Yeah, they're not great. We probably will do one more season, but we just focus on developing basically these 3 stats a little bit more. Yeah, Hayes here is going to try and improve. It's also holding up the car behind. Bottas does improve up to 7th place. And while Hayes will probably score points this season, I don't think it will be enough to close the gap to the cars ahead. Bottas even set the 2nd best time is, so we definitely gave him a bit of a tow. But yeah, not enough potentially, but we'll try the first couple of races and see how it goes. So Hayes' first stint here has actually gone pretty well. We've been able to keep within the top 10, not dropping out of it. But as you can see, Porsche and Norris have already pitted. They are catching up to us, and that is a bit of a problem. But because we went a little bit longer than we were supposed to in these softs, we can basically just burn the medium before we jump onto the next tire, which will be a little bit helpful. And we are going to have to manage a lot of traffic here. That's just the nature of it. But with everyone pitting a lot earlier than us, we should still be able to make this work to our advantage. And for Antonelli, we're basically doing a one-stop at this point. That is kind of wild for Bahrain, but Antonelli has high enough smoothness. Our car's smoothness level is also high enough that we can just do something pretty simple in that regard. And for Hayes here, it is a little bit difficult to overtake. We are losing a lot of time behind other cars. But that is just the unfortunate reality of his stats, if you will. Time to get Antonelli in here and put him on a light soft till the end. For Hayes, we are going to just be fighting our damnedest to get back in the points and finally get on that scoreboard. Final lap is underway here, and Hayes is currently running 14th. Well, good 40-ish seconds behind Porsche at the moment. So we definitely don't have the stats yet to get this done. Traffic is just straight up the death of us. Because without overtaking and without the opportunity to go high aggression to get those overtakes done, because it's very likely to lead to a DNF, we still don't have what we're looking for. But Hayes finished 14th on merit. We got to Q3 on merit. So one more season of development, and then we're going to go all in. Season 5 has reached its end here. I guess Season 5. Antonelli has secured a driver's title with 20 wins this season, 22 podiums. Can't really complain. McLaren drivers have been more of a problem than the Red Bull drivers, so we'll have to see if we might need to kidnap a Norris as this next season progresses. And they did, in fact, take the constructor's title away from us, but Red Bull has fallen down to 4th. And honestly, I'm probably worrying a little bit too much over Max. I might, in reality, have sabotaged myself, as Red Bull aren't that strong. The regulation change wasn't that impactful. It's just chassis and side pods. We did have the best pit stops, though. That gives us a little bit extra money going into next year. We have almost 40 million in the bank. We've also upgraded our design center, our suspension sim, and our car part test center towards the end of this season, which will allow us get the maximum boost for the car next year. Team Hub, Race Sim, both of these have been refurbished fairly lately. Basically, we have refurbished everything going into next year. That should help us get a sponsorship that we need to kind of keep things going. But with that said, we are going to just speed things along here and get ready for the season where hopefully Ace will be able to score some points. And as you can see, we are kind of reaching the cap here for braking, cornering accuracy, and adaptability. So what we are going to do also is switch him over to, I think we are not going to do long runs here, even though that would be kind of an interesting prospect, because once we max, honestly, once we max adaptability and cornering, I'm wondering if the stat gain, or rather the experience, gets focused on smoothness and reactions. I haven't really experimented much with this, but if it does, long runs here is going to be the key. Because the few races where we have taken control of Hayes, he hasn't had that many problems with crashing. And worst case scenario, we'll just have to add an extra season to our task here, if you will. Now, Hayes is also, for the first time, not finished last. Has 14 DNFs, so the DNF numbers here are pretty consistent. Let's just get that out there. It is pretty consistent, but again, this is when I simulate the season. I think if I take control and just manage him, it'll go quite a lot better. We lost some marketability compared to last year. Basically just due to the fact that we lost a couple of affiliates that we have replaced with less marketable ones, I assume. But yeah, we have made a decent chunk of income here, particularly race targets, as Ace has actually been able to hit them in races this year. Digital adjustment will be none. Still 0 points, but improved position by 1. We'll take that. We will be 5-star going next season. We've almost maximized our rating. I think all that we need to actually do a complete maximize of the rating is just to get the constructors win here. Car development update. 3 points of cornering, 2 points of braking, a point of smoothness after we switch over, as well as 2 points of adaptability. So Hayes is still growing very, very quickly. And we'll have to see here if we can get reactions and smoothness up. Because if we can, and as I mentioned, if the experience is maximized on those two stats, we can expect 5 to 10 points a month, then it's going to get wild. But we do need to wait for the adaptability and the cornering to get maxed. That's going to take a little bit of time. So that is not going to be amazing. Now, in terms of regulation changes, the wind tunnel and the CFD sim has been changed. We get more now for finishing second than we did this season. Cost cap has been increased again, and we lose 30% on a chassis and 10% on side pods. So the cars next year are going to be very, very close because the AI is not really going to lose too much when it's just two parts of the car. With that said, let's just jump into next season. Okay, we'll accept the new target, second place, which is what we did this season. So again, the board is happy with our progress, I guess. Funding we'll be fine with. In terms of research for the chassis, we did just about do enough. Put a lot of CFD into the chassis, I'm not going to lie, to keep it still competitive. But even then, we lost a slight amount of performance. Side pods, we did outdo the loss from the regulation change, which is huge. We did also put some work into the underfloor, suspension, and we didn't do anything really with the front or the rear wing because there wasn't really a need to. So with that, we are kind of prepped now going into this potentially final season. We might need one more. We are going to go Red Bull this season to give us the best chances of winning. And immediately here, on the 1st of January, you can see that we are still the decisively best car. We're lacking DRS effectiveness, that's okay. We're lacking dirty air tolerance, that's okay. You can't really use DRS effectiveness to defend unless you're in a train, and trains are their own problem anyway, so DRS isn't that important. Neither is dirty air tolerance. Our tire preservation is already almost maxed, so we're in a pretty sweet spot here. But for, as I mentioned, hopefully the final season. In terms of the underfloor here, we're about 75% on low and medium. We're 88% on high speed. So as you can see, we put in a ton of work. Suspension, 95% tire preservation here, 90% drag reduction. Unless we want to focus on getting a little bit more cornering in here. As cornering is 72, 73%. There isn't really much for us to do with the suspensions. The side pods here, engine cooling is up to 90. We have airflow, the 85s. Bad. Honestly, we might want to put a little bit of work into the medium speed here, but it's also, again, 83, 84%, so it's not really bad. 80% here on high, and 73.5% on low speed. So we are reaching, as you're probably figuring out with how I'm going through this, a bit of a cap on the performance. We have 92 tire preservation, 90 airflow front. Getting a little bit more low speed downforce would be good on our front wing. So we might actually invest CFD in there. And honestly, that is probably going to be the best choice here for this season. To just immediately get a little bit of more low speed performance out of this front wing. Even then, it's not going to be a huge amount, as you can see. So we're basically just trying to stack whatever buffs we can at this point. And we can actually make that front wing in 20 days, which is kind of nuts if you ask me. But we will take it. Chassis next on the chopping block here. We'll rush it, put an extra engineer on it. That leaves 2 for the last 2 projects, which are fine. And if we take a look here, we are getting stats. We're barely losing any cooling there. Most of the cooling loss is actually going to come once we the side pods here like this. But even then, we're probably going to be above 85%. Which, as you can imagine, is going to be more than enough for anything really that we want to do here. Finally, suspension. Let's see how high that tire preservation can go. And as you can see, we're reaching about 96% thereabouts. 96.5% of tire preservation. So that's going to help with the low smoothness. Apart from that, barely any stats gained. And that is just because we're so close to the cap that there isn't really much more performance to get out of these parts. And I didn't really need to rush that one. But this way we'll have all the slots available for what we want to do. Hey, pick group performance has degraded a little bit, but again, we usually can fix that before the season starts anyways. Car part development is open. Let's see if we can get some more good sponsors here to help us out. So we have to choose between a front sponsor or basically an engagement sponsor. Right now, we do have Verstappen that is going to be sucking out a lot of our income. So let's see here which basically sponsors we can get. And for the most part here, we are getting the same ones that do help us out quite a bit here. I think Abados here probably will be the choice. Since mainly it is upfront money, we could also go for MMOX here. Honestly, we'll do that. Get a little bit more race day income. So we're still getting 4 buffs. We're lacking 1 buff as a result. But we'll take this. And as I mentioned, we have also now our good friend here, Max Verstappen, as an affiliate. And he's actually happy with it as a 30-year-old. We are going to put him on marketability. Most marketable one right now. And as I mentioned here, Hayes is going to have a hard season ahead. We do need to work on that smoothness, work on those reactions, and we're going to see if we can do this with just 27 control right now with the buff. I'm going to get the car pass made. I'm going to get the pit crew ready, and then we'll see how we do in Secure this season when we basically have maxed some of our pace stats. Those are the team rosters for this season. Porsche and Lando are in McLaren. They're probably going to be our biggest rivals. Ocon has found his way to Red Bull. Perez and Bestia are in RB. Tsunoda and Lawson are Williams. Russell and Martinelli at Mercedes. Martinelli might be a threat. We'll have to see if Piastri and Stroll at the Alpine. Behrman and Charles at Ferrari. Stanek and Magnussen at Aston Martin basically proves that they will not be a problem. They just are so much lower rated than the rest here. Sargent has found his way to Haas alongside Gasly. Then we have Hajar and Show in the Sauber. So that should make things a little bit interesting. With the design work being paused for 9 days here, we're very likely to miss a couple of parts, including the rear wing for Secure. It is time to put on some of the new parts here. The chassis is going to be our first one that we put on. Fortunately, the front wing here is not going to be ready simply because I decided to not make these because we work on the other ones. And I also forgot that this event, let's see, 19th of February, is still bugged. It does the opposite. It adds days instead of subtracting them. I forgot. And now the front wing won't be ready until Australia. And even then, we won't have it until the Japanese Grand Prix. I think that's fine. We'll live with a little bit of a handicap on that end. The rear wing is not done either. The side pods are, however. The underfloor, we have one of them ready, and we'll just put that on Hayes' car. And for the suspensions, they are in fact ready. But yeah, the underfloor here, I'm not too bothered about only having a Hayes' car. Let's face it, Antonelli is super strong, so he'll still be fine even without that little buff. And with that, we're now second in top speed because we're losing a little bit of it due to suspension. But we are pretty far ahead in quartering and tire preservation, and hopefully this will be enough that we can do something against the McLaren. But as you can see, the McLaren isn't far behind, just 50 in low speed, 90 in medium, and 160, 170 in high speed. So that's where they're the furthest behind. We have a almost 2 kph advantage. We have a tire preservation advantage, cooling advantage. And of course, once we get the front and the rear wings, we'll get a little bit more of a low speed advantage again. But we'll have to see here, is the stats here, basically having max cornering, braking accuracy, going to be enough to counter the smoothness, lack of reactions, lack of control, and the struggles with overtaking? This is the season where hopefully Hayes will be dragging home a title and some points. Let's head to Bahrain. Hayes has just finished the first lap here, and we are just 2/10 off Antonelli. So we have pace, but do we have the required control to take advantage of it, basically? We're also going to have to see it where the McLarens end up. Porsche is currently on an out lap. A bunch of yellow flags that are not us this time is also good to see. And Porsche, where are you going to end up? Where is that McLaren going to be placed? 2/10 behind Hayes again. But this is very, very promising. Let's see if Q2 and Q3 go the same way. Q2 saw Hayes set a much better time than in Q1. And I think we have our driver now, finally. So Hayes has done fairly well here. He is currently on pole position. The first time in his career. Antonelli did get held up a little bit on his run, which is why Hayes is quicker. But as things stand, should be able to secure it here. And even better, Norris has been knocked out already, so Antonelli will be playing Bridesmaid this season. There's just no way around it. We'll be having him protecting Hayes as much as possible, snatching the wins when basically Hayes crashes, which is probably going to be at least a quarter of the races this season, I would think. Maybe less if we're lucky, but we're basically going to be trying to minimize risk during the races themselves. Then we'll have to figure out how we want to do it from there. Now, because of the fact that Hayes does have a weakness, which is, of course, the fact that he eats tires, I want him to pit early as can be. Now, it isn't actually accurate to say that his weakness is eating tires. It's one of his weaknesses. His other weaknesses are his defense and his overtakes, which basically means that we do not want this man in traffic if it can be avoided. So in this case, we're just going to push. We are quicker than everyone else. We've already seen it. We are just going to go full push and make the best out of it. And for Antonelli, as you can see, he can easily do a one-stopper. So we'll put him on that for the time being. Yeah, we're just going to go full push, see if we can get gap that we need. And of course, we're bringing out all the stops here, so underfueling is going to be a must. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how increased smoothness and increased reactions is going to help shape our season, basically. We are just going to be designing, no research. We're going all in if Hayes wins, say, the first 4 races. Let's get started. Bahrain is upon us. Cross our fingers here for Hayes finally getting his first points and maybe his first win.
And it's lights out, and away we go.
That's a good start for a man with no reaction. Not the best hit from Antonelli. We're going to tune down the risk immediately. Probably a little bit paranoid of me, but I want to minimize risk as much as possible. And we immediately start with a minor incident here. Hayes has run wide after running with Antonelli for a while. And that is a good start. Not the worst incident ever, and we still retain very high confidence, so we should be okay. We've had a crash, but it is not our driver. It is in fact Ocon that has been involved in an incident further back with his teammate, Red Bull and Red Bull Violence at the start of this season. Aggressive defense, a lockup, and the crash is a fact. Now, Hayes is further behind it simply because we've just pitted. As you see, no one ahead of us has done the same. So as things stands, Hayes should be fine, and basically we'll just have Antonelli, again, take the role of a bridesmaid. We'll have to just pit him, slow him down before the end of the race. And for Hayes right now, it is an overtake around the outside, which is kind of silly there. Kind of deserved that you get shuffled to the Shadow Realm, but with the DRS, fresher tires, the overtake is easily done on the straight. After everyone has done their first run out pit stops here, Hayes is now 10 seconds ahead of Westy. And with that, you can kind of see here that as long as Antonelli does the ultimate sacrifice, Hayes should be able to secure a win here. With just 5 laps to go here, we have Antonelli and Hayes 1-2. We just pitted Antonelli basically to, well, allow for the catch up here. Needed to do 2 extra pit stops. I'm going to basically have Antonelli here just not fight the teammate. And the reason for that is very simple. I don't want him to crash. And we are kind of just going to go with Hayes. Do everything we can if Hayes win in title. Martinelli and Pacher, again, the 2 identified as the most problematic customers here are running 3rd and 4th, now 5th. But I don't think that is going to change anything, as Antonelli here is running a little bit too close. I don't want you to be that close, Antonelli. That just smells like a recipe for disaster in case there is a lockup. So let's have Hayes go a little bit aggressive here and try and get away from the teammate. I don't want you guys running too close, but Antonelli is legitimately just too quick for it to really matter here. 3 laps to go. Hayes is doing basically victory laps at this point. With that, I do believe win is almost in our hands here. And a 1-2 to boot. Hayes being 30 seconds ahead of Martinelli here was not on my bingo card, but there we are. Hayes, the first time he scores points, he also secures fastest lap, pole position. It's a Grand Slam? Pretty sure it is a Grand Slam. First point scoring position is in fact a Grand Slam here for Hayes. And with that, this season has kicked off to a good start. Let's see if we can keep it going here and secure the title for Hayes.
Formula One's newest team, shattering all expectations here.
This podium is something the whole team can be proud of.
Yeah, Hayes has won. Martinelli is third, Porsche ended up fourth. And right now, we are just going to be trying to build up a gap. There's no pole position point, there is no fast lap point, so while nice stats, they don't really matter much in this context. Hopefully, we can also take the Constructors title. Just get everything at once here. And as you can see, 18th or higher was still the objective for Hayes, and we pulled off a pretty comfortable win there. Let's see if we can do the same in Jeddah. We're still lacking in front wing, we're still lacking in rear wing, and Hayes is still developing, and it's gonna just keep on developing over the course of the season. Gonna be looking forward to seeing the smoothness here and their actions going up as well. In Jeddah, we start off with a bit of an unfortunate incident as Hayes does lock up. Was running in third, locks up early, and as a result here, does lose some positions, falling down to 10th. And I believe he also crashed on the rejoin, which has hurt our confidence quite a bit. Indeed, got hit by Sonoda there. So we did, in fact, lose a lot of confidence from that. We are already on low and on rarely defend. So this right now has put us at risk, getting absolutely shafted. So Antonelli will probably be forced to take the win here simply to protect us. And for Hayes, we need to get a couple of clean overtakes so that we can build up confidence again. And before we even had a chance to make that happen, we have crashed here. And we have destroyed a gearbox and engine and an ERS. So this is going to be an expensive season, all things considered. But yeah, this is kind of what we expected. And this is the risk, though. This is basically what happens whenever we do lose confidence by just getting overtaken a bunch, by crashing. We are going to be eating the wall. In Australia, we are going to be playing defense against the Dark Arts, as Antonelli here has been put to, well, don't fight teammate, but he's always going to be defending, and he's going to be managing his tires a little bit, and he's already bought Hayes a good 3 seconds here, so as you can imagine, the play is pretty simple and straightforward. Antonelli protects Hayes, and then we see how, how effective that is. Right now, though, they're basically running the same in terms of pace. It's a bit of an issue. We also have a safety car, not courtesy of us, but it is basically going to put us back in a position where we need to go on the defense. Lawson getting assaulted from behind. I don't think that safety car is going to lead to anyone pitting, but we'll have to see what we do here with Hayes, because Hayes needs an extra pit stop. And we are losing 4 seconds worth of gap. We've just pitted Hayes here, and as you can see, we are falling down the order. But the reality is, everyone will need to pit very, very soon. And as you can see, Hayes comes out in a pretty healthy area and then immediately runs wide. That is a little bit concerning, but I think we'll be fine. Antonelli is still being a beast. We're running full conserve, and even then, doing an amazing job at holding people up. So this is just going to be a no-stop wet race for him. We now have a safety car, which is going to help a lot of people here. Sergeant has crashed on turn 10. And honestly, as long as it's not Hayes, I'm going to be happy. That's a really hard hit. But this does, in fact, cause some problems. We are going to take the opportunity to pit Antonelli. There's no reason not to. And honestly, I am tempted to get Hayes in for another stop. But I think we'll be fine because Antonelli will still be able to defend us. So yeah, I think we'll just stay out and play it safe. Hayes was just about to start trying to get through the traffic here. Yeah, Antonelli pits and comes out. And the perfect place to just keep on defending. So everything is still just dandy. Final lap is about to start here. Hayes is still running first. Science has also crashed out. Antonelli has done a beautiful job of defending, and we're now just going to have him push in order to ensure he gets second place. This does mean that he is still in lead of the championship, but if we can keep this going, we'll be fine. And basically, it's better for us to have the option to have Antonelli drop points later on in the season than right now when we don't know who our closest rivals are going to be. But Hayes here, third race of this season, picks up another win. Hayes' growth continues here. 3 points cornering, smoothness, speed adaptability, 4 reactions, 11 points gained here. We're getting close to the end here in Japan. As you can see, Antonelli took the win. We have Hayes currently running third after just catching Martinelli. We do secure third place here, which is acceptable because we retain second. And as I mentioned here, Antonelli, we can somewhat manage to close the gap later on.
And the control's lost. Not a mistake they'll want to make again.
We're currently in China. Hayes has just finished his final stop here, and Martinelli and Norris are up ahead, 7 and 20 seconds up the road. Currently, we do have Antonelli trying to hold up Martinelli. We'll have to see how well that works out. Basically, we're running full conserve on everything while being up ahead and basically just trying to slow them down enough that Hayes can catch up. And right now, Antonelli is doing that job beautifully. Last lap, we gained a good 2 seconds. Currently, we're 7 seconds behind with about 8 laps to go here. Basically, Antonelli will be trying to play the team game here. It gives Hayes a chance to get a third win this season. And just like that, we have Hayes up into second place here. Antonelli steps aside nicely. And right now, we'll keep on holding up Martinelli with just 4 laps to go here. Should see Hayes get a pretty healthy lead. And as such, all that is left to do here is just to have Antonelli defend and then break away the final lap. China sports a third win for Hayes here. With that, our chances this season are looking pretty solid. Look at the current standings. Antonelli is still in the lead, but we now have 20 points, 22 points between Hayes and third place. Miami Sprint, we have a safety car that is not caused by our boy for once. It is Porsche. He's had a problem further down. I assume he's going to get absolutely... yeah. That is unfortunate. I might actually get penalized for that. Like the V-Carb crashed. Currently, we are running 1-2. Vesti had a little bit of an incident. And unfortunately, I think this actually means that we are not going to get an extra point going the way of Hayes. Simply because there probably won't be enough laps to make it happen. We do have a massive tire advantage. So if there is enough time here, we will try and invert the cars. But as mentioned, it's going to be rather risky. So probably not going to happen, particularly as the safety car is still going. Oh, safety car is ending. We'll have 1 racing lap. Okay. I'll put both these guys on push. And we'll see if we can find a good corner here to have Antonelli really rather relinquish first place. I'm going to go ahead and put him on don't fight teammate over here. We enter the corner. And hopefully this will allow for a clean-ish pass. That is not the cleanest pass that I wanted. But we had already created enough of a gap that it did not become a problem. Just like that, we should have just secured a little bit of a better position for ourselves, provided, you know, Antonelli doesn't lock up right now and murder both of them. But yeah, another points favor Hayes here. 1-2 in the sprint, secured. Miami, 3 last laps here, and once again, Antonelli is playing the role of the blockade here. Provided, of course, that we can get back ahead. That isn't necessarily guaranteed scenario. Ace here, had 3 laps to go, 3 seconds behind. We'll need a little bit of help to get there, but we are trying to make this happen right now. Second Antonelli's ahead. We do the harvest to slow down even more. And Pocher is being an absolutely being a nuisance right now, to the point where we could end up outside of the podium because he's just in the way most of the time and we haven't been able to drop him. The energy is a problem here as Antonelli has been dropped again. And that lapped has is just causing so many problems that I can't really describe it properly. How annoying that one is with 2 laps to go here. Ace now stuck behind that very same has. It is quite silly at this point just how problematic that has decided to be. Now, last lap is upon us. Well, almost. Antonelli will once again have to try and play blocker. But with the DRS train, which is what's going to happen here, I don't think we are going to have an easy time getting the overtake. Never mind. It's just... there's a sweep on the outside. That's actually kind of nuts.
Mode race.
We're going to allow Antonelli here too to be a little bit aggressive. Because if we can get that double overtake now in the next straight, that should be it for this race. But will the Mercedes have DRS here? It will, of course, because the Haas being a problem. If anything here, we might need to just tell Antonelli to back off. Because, let's face it here, Antonelli is not the one that needs to get a good result here. It is our driver. If it could squish Antonelli in between, that would be amazing. But I don't think we can make that happen. And right now, I think we just ran out of juice. And with that, Antonelli will take first. Hayes gets second. Antonelli gets third. And either Gasly or Sargent played a huge role in giving that to the Mercedes driver, as Pocher just barely gets over the line.
You can take a look now. Now this was the 7th corner. The wheels just lock up there. But that... there's a yellow flag now.
Q2 is underway, and Hayes has not had the best of starts. Slid directly into the wall, and I think with that, our qualifying might be over. Minor damage to chassis, rear wing, and suspension. Luckily for us, Hayes' crash was on the in-lap. Time had already been set, and with that, we are through. But we will, of course, have to install some new parts. Hayes here has not gone very well. He picked up a minor fault on the gearbox. Temperature increase will be examined after the session. Not the worst thing we could have gotten. Basically, probably going to make the gearbox be relegated to a practice one. It shouldn't have too much effect on the race itself. We also picked up some minor underflow damage after running wild in a corner. Running wild, running wide. Right now, we've had to commit to an extra pit stop simply because Hayes have been locking up quite a bit. So we'll have to see if we can do any sort of recovery drive here. Antonelli is just chilling out front, even with his own little failure here. So for Hayes, we'll have to see how far back up the order we can actually recover. Final lap is underway, and as you can see from Hayes here, we are basically very, very close to 2 cars in front. It's going to be hard to get any sort of overtakes going here, though, because we would like to, well, basically, as you can see here, The McLaren can't really get any overtaking done on the Red Bull, and as a result, we just get boxed in and stuck. We're going to try and deploy here, though. See if we can do anything. Getting fourth here would be nice, because as you can see, we have kind of suffered just a little bit here. But unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be any extra points gains for Hayes here. The poor qualifying performance and everything linked to that just was a little bit too much to contend with. But McLaren is getting sent to the Shadow Realm, and with that, 5th place has been secured. Final lap is upon us here, and Hayes is currently in a bit of a bad position. Well, we're not actually at the final lap just yet, but we'll be there soon. And basically here, a virtual safety car has saved Porsche just a little bit, with Bearman sending it into the wall, which has caused a little bit of a problem. But we should have a little bit of a tire advantage here, and that will hopefully be enough that we can just use energy and DRS pass for share here on the main straight. That's going to be the hope, at least. We are basically inside of the McLaren up ahead, so by deploying, this should be a simple pass, even if we don't have a full battery. And as it turns out, it wasn't. Come on. You can do it, boy. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll be able to make anything happen. Martinelli, though, is outside of the points, so that is huge. But if Hayes had been able to win here, that would have been a lot better. Looks like we just don't have the energy to make this happen, and that virtual safety car did, in fact, save Porsche a little bit here. Even so, we're going to end up 2nd and 3rd, and that is good enough for us. Another qualifying, another 1-2. Canada has seen us have a pretty terrible start here, with Hayes falling down to 7th as we speak, and generally just being unable to get anything started here. Now, it's not the worst thing ever, because basically we'll be kind of going for an undercut. Maybe we'll go lap 15, 18, something like that, get a little bit more of an advantage. Basically, we've just been very unlucky with the DRS here and been shuffled down repeatedly. Hayes is moving back up again, and we have still retained confidence, so we aren't too worried about potentially crashing. Unfortunately for us, Canada just hasn't been Hayes' track here. We're currently 30 seconds behind the leader, who is Sainz, who we are kind of allowing to win here. Antonelli could probably caught him if we wanted to, but Sainz has so few points scored that it actually isn't a problem to let him win here.
Watching the action closely here. All good at this point. The wheels just lock up there. And they'll...
So I feel I haven't actually gone too well into what strategy we do employ here with Hayes, and honestly, it's actually pretty simple, all things considered. So I'm just going to quickly explain how things go here in the races and how we take this poor man and actually pull him to race wins. So Antonelli will generally be starting on pole. That happens basically every race. Hayes will then start 2nd, 3rd, 4th, usually top 5, with a couple of exceptions. And when he has those exceptions, he generally crashes. But as long as we start top 5, we can have Antonelli pull ahead at the start. Hayes then ends up getting overtaken by 1 or 2 cars because he has terrible reactions. And then we re-overtake them a little bit later. In this case, on lap 2, we were able to take back the position from Sainz. Now, at this point, we are artificially slowing down Antonelli as much as possible. And the reason for this is very, very simple. Antonelli will, here until the rest of the race, basically play the role of a doorstop, a moving chicane. He'll do the Monaco strategy, if you will. But for that to work, we do need Hayes to get back into the lead. And hopefully we can do that before Sainz gets into DRS of Antonelli. And it seems like we'll get that done just dandy here. And we did actually pull that off. That's kind of a key component. And from here, Antonelli will be stepping aside. He'll not be finding teammate. And that will allow for a pretty free pass there. We'll put him to neutral for now. And for now, and until the end of the race, Antonelli basically will just be trying his damnedest to slow up the cars behind. So we'll slow him down as much as possible. We'll put him on high overtake aggression. And honestly, if he... We'll still have to keep him don't fight teammate because we don't want him to overtake Hayes. Basically, at this point, we're just going to try and have him slow down the cars further down the road. Generally giving Hayes half a second or even more every lap in advantage, so we don't end up 30 seconds behind, like in Canada. Now, we haven't actually been able to buy too much time at just 2.5 seconds because Antonelli is having a hard time keeping them behind, particularly when it comes to DRS zones. But Pocher and Ocon have both picked up damage, and Perez as well. Sainz is now down at the back. Basically, at this point, we are going to get Hayes in for a pit stop. Now, that's going to put us towards the back here, and everyone will be pitting within relative, shortness of time. But Antonelli can actually overtake while being on all the defensive settings. That is the scary thing about him. He's just that good that we can nerf him maximum, and he will still be taking back that position. Please get out ahead. No. Okay, that's acceptable. That's actually beautiful. Just Sergeant and then a lot of freedom here for Hayes. So let's just deploy. Let's push. Let's get ahead of the Sergeant. Maybe a little bit earlier than I would like, but they know. Just have to double check that I put Hayes back to low aggression because that was pretty aggressive. Yeah, for now, Hayes here will be just trying to undercut the cars ahead, and Antonelli is getting back in the lead. That is going to be the play, and keep on slowing down the train behind. By the time most cars are pitted, Hayes now has extended the gap to quite a significant margin here, 10 seconds, thereabouts. But as you can imagine, that is going to be a little bit difficult to defend here. So we're going to have Antonelli now just push before we go into a light medium and basically do this entire thing again. Martinelli has also yet to pit. There's been some minor crashes. We've had one lockup from Hayes, but generally the incidents are hitting other drivers. Stanek here helping us out a little bit. Kind of amazing he kept that on track. There we go. We've timed Antonelli's pit stop pretty well. Ocon was gaining quite a lot on our driver here, but as we have sent Antonelli out at the perfect time, if you will, he's now going to be back to just holding up the Red Bull. Ocon was a good just 3 seconds behind before we did this move. He's now down to 6. And we'll have to see what kind of work Antonelli can do. Antonelli can do, because Hayes needs every single piece of help he can get. We're getting to the end here of the Spanish Grand Prix, and we have Ocon following us right now. We are full attack, full everything. And honestly, as things stand here with the standings, I am very tempted to just say that we are going to have Antonelli fall completely outside of the points. Martinelli is not scoring anything. Esteban, Tsunoda, both of them are low enough in the standings that we don't care if them scoring points. Which could be an issue, let's be honest, but honestly, he's already ahead of Antonelli as is. And with the potential issues with cars, they could not score points in the next couple of races. So we are just going to pit again to get Antonelli outside of the points. And for Hayes here, we need to get away from Ocon. That's going to be the key here. We have a very tiny tire advantage. And potentially, we're not going to be able to pull the gap that we need. But just about, we're there. We can go ahead and ensure that we're low and low. And we're going to go balanced. We're going to go neutral. And with that, Hayes now should be able to just kind of take it a little bit of a chill pill here and take the win. And as I mentioned here, I'm happy with Antonelli not scoring points here. It doesn't actually change anything in any meaningful way for us. But Cher finishing 5th would be the best. I'll have to see where he actually ends up. But Hayes here, with the extreme help that Antonelli has given, has been able to pull off a free-stopper here. Victory, provided he doesn't lock up and send it into the wall right now. Yeah, all in all, I say this is a very acceptable race result here. We'll be seeing Hayes close the gap by 25 points to Antonelli. And as I said here, I'm fine with Protea scoring 10 points. I'm perfectly fine with Ocon scoring 18 points here. We just need to try and ensure the gap between us and third is as big as possible. And honestly, this is the same as Martinelli scoring 2 points. So for us, this is a huge, huge win here in Barcelona. Hayes now Getting to the line. Please don't backmarket me, backmarker. And there we go. We picked up a 4th win this season for Hayes. And again, it is 90% the work of Antonelli. And the last 10% is literally just us being able to avoid as much traffic as possible. And here we are. Hayes is up to 63 overall. Stats are improving. Austria up next. This is probably not going to be a good one for us. Pretty boring sprint here. And as you can imagine, we do need to slow down Antonelli a little bit just to be on the safe side. But we have had a pretty boring affair. And as things stand, we're going to be extending our lead. In Austria, we got our 2nd DNF of the season, and it came at a unpressured corner, sadly. Hayes was leading. He just loses the car and eats the wall. That is very unfortunate for us. Just to give you guys an idea of what a beast Antonelli is, we currently have him running on conserve. And he has eked out a 6-second gap to Martinelli, a 12-second gap to Sargent, who's somehow in 4th. As you can see, he's going a lot quicker than most of the cars around him. So it's a weird timeline. After crashing here, I decide that we are going to give Antonelli a win. Martinelli here will score 18 points for 2nd place, but unfortunately, Ocon just didn't have it in him to snatch 2nd, even with the help we've been giving. Tsunoda is a good 30 seconds down the road, so I thought it was better this way to put 8 points that we can control rather than give them to Martinelli. With that, Antonelli picks up another win after Hayes crashed out pretty hard. In terms of Hayes development here, we finally hit 100 cornering, so we'll have to see if we get more points somewhere else. This one we gained 1, 2, 3, 7 points total, which isn't bad. Usually get somewhere between 7 to 11 points. We'll have to see now if the growth of smoothness and reactions goes up a lot quicker. Reactions definitely grown a lot quicker than the smoothness. And personally, I would have liked to see it the other way around, because tire management is huge, as we've seen with Antonelli. Basically, running conserve on a soft can build up a 30-second gap with ease. So, yeah, we do need a little bit more the smoothness and reaction bank here. But worst case scenario, I think Hayes will take it next year with relative ease. But we'll have to see how the rest of this season goes. We've had our certified quality incident. A Spinala. To make life even harder here in Britain, we had a great start where Hayes managed to actually get away cleanly. But unfortunately, he did pull off a spin immediately after, falling down to 3rd. Then apparently causing a red flag somehow. Why is there a red flag? Why did it suddenly go dark? No explanation on the red flag. Okay. I really don't want to go hard tire here, but honestly, we've already spun on these. We have a disadvantage. We are just going to go medium here for Antonelli. Why was there a flag? I know Russell and Sainz have damage.
We're ready to get this race underway again.
I am confused here in Britain. This is the beginning of tragedy, maybe. We'll see. Terrible start here from Hayes, and that alone could sell the deal here. Yeah, going for the hards probably was a terrible idea here, but we will have to try and make the most out of it. We are going to play very defensively here with our boy, and Hayes here now we are just going to have to put to low aggression before he takes himself out, basically. Yeah, that makes life a lot harder here, so we'll have to see if we can get Hayes back in front. We are nearing our first pit stop here, and honestly, it's going pretty well so far. I think we'll try and do one more lap here with Hayes, as basically the longer we go on these hards, the better. Stroll and Gasly has already pitted, but they were so far behind, I don't think that's going to matter much to us. And honestly, undercutting Tsunoda, who is kind of making a break for it right now, is going to be the priority for Hayes. Antonelli's just chilling, basically, at this point. I don't need him to slow people down yet, so he just isn't doing that. Hayes is going to come out dead last here, basically, with the exception of those who have already pitted. That is fine. The goal here now is to run 2 light soft stints till the end.
Could be debris.
As we see a yellow flag, as someone has done something, but no safety car, no VSC. Is Stroll, the 2 pack markers, basically having a little bit of fun. We're having another terrible race here. We picked up some front wing damage. I believe Hayes has been hurt clearing Tsunoda. Rather, he's probably hurt Tsunoda. Yep, that's going to be a penalty. At this point, we are going to be driving basically a recovery drive. There's no way around it. 2 bad races in a row could actually put Hayes outside of contention. Basically meaning that the final races will have to be done on his own. It is mainly the front wing, though, that took damage. And honestly, these tires are already kind of done for. So we're going to gamble, just get him in, replace that, and see if we can recover any sort of points here. Antonelli, I'm going to need you to play the blockage role of a lifetime. We're at the final lap of the race here, and Hayes has not had any chance to really recover, which is, of course, unfortunate. In terms of the front here, I have decided to give Antonelli the order to overtake. It's going to increase the gap by quite a lot, but honestly, Antonelli is getting dangerously close as is, so we'll just have to put our hopes in Hayes being able to do a little bit of a better job at the end of the season. There's just no other way around it. And Antonelli here just is so much better and so much faster that this should not be a problem. Unfortunately, we aren't that far off points here. About 15 seconds is final distance of points. But all in all, it could be worse. As Russell picks up a puncture further towards the back there. Yeah, Antonelli takes another win ahead of Martinelli and Pacher. We are limiting our opponents here more so than anything else. As I mentioned, we'll just have to ensure towards the end of the season that Antonelli just doesn't score points. That's literally what we're doing here. We're building a gap here where Antonelli will just not have to score points for like the last 6, 7, maybe 8 races, because that is literally the best way and keep the gap going. Yeah, another weekend where Hayes just throws it all away. Gap now is just 14 points. It was 40 a couple of weekends ago. So I thought another thing that might be a good idea to give you guys a little bit of a heads up on is how we do in qualifying to ensure that Hayes is always top 2, top 3. And the strategy is called Antonelli Shield. Basically, Antonelli is being abused this season, and he's also being abused as a shield in qualifying. Whenever Hayes goes out, Antonelli will go out just right before him, before we do our customary lockup here in qualifying. So Antonelli will not be working as a shield on this one, and we probably will have to do another run. But the general strategy is pretty straightforward and simple. We allow Antonelli to be a shield. That way, cars get out of the way. We get a little bit of a slipstream. But as you see, Hayes isn't necessarily slow in a quality setting, because even with that lockup, even with that loss of confidence, his stats are already high enough that he is extremely competitive, is the best way I can put it. This is probably just going to be more than enough to get him to quali, because he generally has qualifying times that are 3/10, 4/10, half a second quicker than the third fastest car. So with that in mind, as you can imagine, we aren't actually struggling with qualifying high. But when we have incidents like we had in Britain there, where we locked up, lost a couple of positions, or rather where we spun and lost a couple of positions, we immediately end up in hell. And for Hayes here, we need a good result there. We need to get him back onto a positive note.
Right, we're taking
The Hungarian GP had gone very, very well here until Hayes had a little moment of brilliance.
contact with the barrier. That will have
And this spin was worse than the earlier lockups, and we have now eaten. Well, we have some minor front wing damage. We have just pitted to the final pit stop here, so we'll just have to live with this. On the positive news, Martinelli will need to pit too. Norris isn't a threat, so even if he wins, it's not a big deal. Pacher would be a little bit of a bigger deal though, so we'll have to see if we can catch them with some front wing damage and basically 5 seconds here. That might turn out to be a little bit difficult, but we'll cross our fingers here, see what we can do. Just like that, we have a virtual safety car, and honestly, at this point, we are going to drop Antonelli out of this race. Sonoda has crashed.
Okay, so
Hayes is currently 5th here. I don't think we have really the tools needed to get any higher than that, so we'll end up finishing 4th. But yeah, we are dropping Antonelli out of this race because the gap is already pretty big, and honestly, I don't want it to grow. We'll keep the gap to Martinelli here. But all in all, not necessarily a good thing as things stand. So yeah, Antonelli, we're going to have to pit him at least once more, probably twice. Just to get him to drop far enough down there. We could also keep Antonelli between Martinelli here, just to, again, extend that gap a little bit more. And honestly, that might actually be the play here. I feel like we still have more than enough points and race to do something with, so we're just gonna drop him in between here. Basically, use him as a defense as well. So that kind of worked out to our advantage. And with 4 laps to go here, let's go ahead and deploy. O'Shea, Ocon, both of them on the straight as it ended. They had a pretty terrible. That was a pretty bad place for them for that virtual safety car to end. They lost a lot of time to us. So we might still be able to snatch a podium place here for Hayes. We are running cold tires, but we kind of have to because otherwise we wouldn't get to the end. And we currently do have Antonelli on don't fight teammate because we kind of have to. Honestly, we should just have him back off a little bit more. Come on, Hayes. I need you to get within range of DRS, and if you can do that, then we can make something happen here. I dropped off a little bit too soon. Gonna have to run attack here for a lap or two. We could DRS swap, but I feel like that is a little bit risky. Let's see what we can do. Attack is a little bit too aggressive. But right now we should be able to close up to the cars in front. We do just that. As you can see, a 40% on hard tires should mean that Hayes has a tiny advantage here. Potentially, if the back markers aren't going to be a huge problem. Just 2 laps to go. We go full attack. We are going to risk it here. High overtake aggression on Hayes. And Ocon there has somehow lost 3 seconds to the car ahead. The back markers here being very problematic to deal with. And I do need Hayes to just pull an overtake. And honestly, Antonelli should not pull an overtake because that would be pretty bad. But honestly, I might not be able to stop him here. So let us put him on driving clean air, Paris curbs, all of them. And honestly, we might not even be able to get Ocon here. Like, we have DRS, but we aren't really that much. We aren't even quicker with DRS. That's the sad part here. We aren't quicker than the Red Bull with DRS, and that is a huge problem. Unfortunately, I think that is it. A 4th place instead of a 3rd. We might regret that down the road, but honestly, right now, there is nothing more I can do at this point. Norris takes the win, Pochek comes 2nd, Ocon takes 3rd. We get 4th and 5th here. And honestly, I think we can be happy with that. Just as we have headed here, Hayes, we have a safety car in Belgium. It's been a pretty slow affair. The Astria has apparently caused an issue. Yeah, that wasn't actually the Astria, that was the Williams car. So, yeah, the Williams car of Sonoda has caused an issue. Personally, Leclerc had DNFs earlier. That didn't really make anything happen. Ocon will pit here. That is the problem. And in terms of what we can expect, he'll go full attack till the end. We do have a 10-second gap here to Martinelli, who also pit. Basically, everyone pit at this stage. But what we are going to do, I'm going to keep Antonelli out. going to keep Antonelli as a blocker. And for Hayes, I think we're actually just going to go for another set of softs. We have that 10-second gap. It is a full safety car. 12 seconds it will be lose during a pit. So for Antonelli, the goal here is still going to be annoying to Martinelli. For Hayes, we're going for a pit stop here simply so we'll have the same kind of tires that Ocon will. As you can see, everyone here is pitting. We are going to have to ask Antonelli to let us go there at one point. Yeah, this is going to be a little bit interesting. Just 10 laps to go. It is fresh softs for Ocon too. Fresh mediums for Martinelli. Okay. Puts Martinelli at risk. Magnussen has like to stay out. But yeah, the goal here is going to be simple. It is going to be to get Hayes by as quickly as possible. If Antonelli is... we're just going to put him on Don't Fight Teammate immediately. He'll be able to recover. Like, that is something I can guarantee. Antonelli will be able to recover his position. He's just that good. 7 laps to go. Getting first place here would be huge. It would help. And honestly, if Antonelli gets third, I'm going to be happy with that because, again, more points to extend the gap. Pit car has ended. Let's see how the restart goes for our boys. He steps out of the way and actually manages to retain third here. That is actually huge. That is incredibly important. And if we take a look here now in terms of tire eater, it should be fine. Should be able to run full attack till the end, provided he doesn't, you know, crash. So we have got us got everything sorted here. Let's try create a bit of a gap as we have another yellow flag. Bestie falling down the order. No safety car. Okay, 2 laps to go here. Hayes is still running in second place behind Ocon. I somehow lost the focus on Antonelli and is falling down to 7th here. Martinelli is 4th at the moment. And honestly, I am happy with that. If we can get Antonelli up ahead, we'll do that. If not, we will just go into the pit lane to allow people to pass. But we are coming up on the end here. And I don't really want you to overtake right now. And you aren't going to do that. You'll have to do it on the main straight. And just because of that, we're going to go high overtake aggression here to ensure that it happens. And yeah, for Antonelli here, it's going to be trying to get Martinelli, but I don't think that's going to happen. But the interesting one here is going to be Hayes. And we should have just about enough speed here that we can stay ahead. Come on. This side by side. And we aren't ballsy enough, straight up. That's really, really bad. Hayes just doesn't have the racecraft, it seems like, at the moment. And Antonelli... No need to block anyone here. Just go conserve, harvest. And we are going to go ahead here and put him on. Basically, honestly, let's just retire the car. That way someone else should be able to get his points. Basically, we're just closing the gap a little bit between Hayes and Antonelli. Okay, come on. Last couple of corners. You got this. Come on, me boy. Unfortunately, not enough. We just couldn't get Ocon and couldn't stay ahead. If it was for that safety car, I think Hayes would have won. But it is just how things turn out. And it looks like Antonelli still finished 6th. Even with that, Martinelli got 4th in the end. So, not the best race we've ever had. But one that we can be happy with because it does, in fact, go our way. Antonelli down to 9th. With that, drivers, we close in on Antonelli. We extend the gap from Martinelli, Bashir, and Ocon. It's getting closer, but he still needs to win 2 more races to be even in the counting. So, not the worst thing ever. We'll definitely take that before we go for the summer break.
Okay, so heading into turn 1 here. Oh, and the car locks up, and they ended up their own passenger.
Hayes has found a good race here. Unfortunately, we have ran wide and picked up some underfloor damage here. Happens. Antonelli is currently just doing his own thing. He's kind of acting as a blocker. Usually done. And we are basically on the identical strategy to Occo and Martinelli, sorry, is also in the mix here. And we'll have to see how things shape up. So far, though, Hayes does have very high confidence, should probably go up to peak now. It does, in fact, do that. As long as we retain low and rarely defend, alongside peak confidence, we're usually pretty... I wanted to say bulletproof, but it's not really true. We're pretty safe against incidents that are pretty bad, as long as we just have one car around us. As we're getting close to the end here, we get a safety car, and this is probably the most blessed safety car we had, because we already set up our victory strategy. It is Gasly who's
Got a
crashed
yellow flag here.
on turn 3.
Right, let's
It's
have
been a
look
pretty
now. Around turn 3.
calm race, all things considered.
Oh, and there wasn't a lot that could be done to
Yeah,
avoid...
Gasly just loses the rear, spins into the wall. Yeah, with that, we are getting cheap pit stops for both of our boys here. Ocon just pitted, and we should just about be able to beat him out, which is going to be the big play here, or rather the big one, if you will, as Ocon has been biggest rival in this one. Martinelli is in it, so all in all, if things stay as it is, Martinelli score a bunch of points, Martinelli will, Ocon will, but I would rather have Ocon score more points than Martinelli, and of course, in this case, we're very likely to just drop Antonelli down at least one place. We'll have to see how we want to facilitate that. So right now we're kind of biding our time here, and that is purely because tire advantage is building in our favor quite strongly here. We don't need to make a move, even if it's just 4 laps left. Antonelli will just have him step out of the way. And basically here, the main thing will be to just keep Hayes within range. And honestly, with the number of laps left to go here, it is time to start being a little bit more aggressive, try and get that overtake done. And honestly, what I'm going to do here with Antonelli too is just push him outside of the DRS range. That should be doable within a lap or two. The main goal behind doing this is, of course, straight up to make it easier for Hayes to overtake. And he just does that rather easily, as it turns out. With that, we can allow Antonelli to fall back a little bit here, to allow Hayes back within DRS range. Then we'll have Antonelli just barely defend. And also on-fight teammate here. Back to always defend, and now he will be back to being a bit of a nuisance for the cars behind, and we'll just allow Hayes here to break away. There's nothing more to it than that. There's nothing special here. It's the same strategy that we've been employing all season in order to give Hayes the best possible chance of getting a win here. Because we have both Pocher and Martinelli as well as Ocon in this, I am going to allow Antonelli to finish on the podium. But in terms of what we need to do here, there's nothing much really. We'll go back to balance here so we don't run out of fuel. And for Antonelli, the goal here now is actually just going to be to kind of keep them in this order, if possible. I would like Pocher, Martinelli, and Ocon finish behind Antonelli in this order, if possible. So we're going to be a little bit aggressive here with deploy. We're going to be a little bit aggressive here with the remaining resources, really, in order to kind of facilitate that a little bit. We did pull a little bit far ahead of Ocon, but the main thing here is just now for the finishing straight for them to have DRS in the order they're in now. And Hayes does win. Antonelli comes second. Then we have Ocon, Pocher, Martinelli, which is kind of how we wanted this to finish. We still do need Antonelli to step out for points in future, but gap now is nearly 40 points for Hayes, down to Martinelli and Pocher. Another one to start here in Italy. The first half-ish of the race has gone very, very well. Hayes is 12 seconds ahead, as Antonelli has done a very, very good job of running conserve, terrible car parts, and harvesting here to keep Pocher at bay. Pocher has actually used quite a lot of tire to make this happen, so Antonelli is doing a really, really good job. Now, we do have a problem here, and that is called it takes a long time to do pit stops here, 25 seconds. And we are in the position now where we are going to need to pit the traffic. The rest here are also going to be pitting around the same time. And basically here, the idea is going to be pretty straightforward and simple. We're putting Hayes on a two-stopper. Generally a terrible idea around here, but we don't have the smoothness really to do a one-stopper and keep pace. We're basically cheesing this quite aggressively by having Antonelli do what he is doing. So, as you can imagine, probably not the best strategy we ever had, but it is a necessary strategy for us. And let's see, where does Hayes come out? 6th? Not the worst place we could have found ourselves, and there is traffic, which is changing things a little bit here. But we should be able to immediately here get all of them actually, because they just step out of the way. With that, I'm going to go ahead and have Antonelli do the same thing. Gonna finally use some of the energy that we've saved up to just push, get into pit lane, and basically the exact same thing we have been doing with Pocher once again. Martinelli is down in 12th here, having pitted. Doesn't have the best time around Italy, as it turns out. With the black magic we pulled here, Antonelli is ahead, and we're basically already almost a full pit stop ahead of the competition, and Antonelli will try and make that even longer. Just over 10 laps to go here. We have 30 seconds down to Pocher and the rest of the gang, and honestly, Hayes now is going to do his hopefully final pit stop. We've had one quick lockup on the medium, so they didn't go as long as we hoped, but was a very minor lockup that didn't really cost us anything. Now, we'll have to see what we do with Antonelli. I think potentially we'll just not have him score points there. Martinelli is far enough down the order, they won't score too much, and Pocher is a bit of a bigger threat. But we are basically now kind of causing him pain and suffering just by being in the way. And we are backing Pocher up into signs, into show. Potentially here we could do Magnus and Martinelli too. They aren't that far off now. But we will see what we can do. And for Hayes, perfectly safe, just run calm and collected to the finish line. As we are reaching the end of this race, I think we're just going to retire Antonelli. Purely because both Martinelli and Pocher are down the order. And we do have the gap here that does need closing, and right now I think closing that gap takes precedence over stealing a couple of points from cars further down the order, particularly as Magnussen and Show are in this, and if we're lucky they might steal some points of Pocher and Martinelli here. If we're unlucky, one of them might get a podium, but we are going to go ahead here and just straight up retire Antonelli. It is the best way we can do this. Get him out of the way for Show, get him out of the way for Sainz.
I'm sorry about that.
And that will work out just as we wanted to here. Just 4 laps to go. I, in my infinite wisdom, managed to cancel the recording. But yeah, Italia's over here. We had Hayes get the win. There was a safety car towards the end as Shohei crashed out. We voluntarily retired Antonelli simply to bring Hayes a little bit closer to first. And since the safety car anyways put Pocher and Martinelli in 5th and 6th, it was the perfect opportunity for us to just retire Antonelli. Drivers done. We are getting a little bit closer. Now it's just 12 points between our drivers. We have a good 56-point lead to Martinelli here. We can sit out 2 out of the remaining HVPs. We have a very, very good position here. And honestly, Hayes is still very likely to throw it away. We've gotten away with 2 DNFs according to this. I'm pretty sure it is 3 DNFs in terms of race back. But yeah, we have some crashes that we are owed. Hopefully we'll be able to sort that without too much trouble. Yep, that's me. So after getting a little bit of a healthy gap here, Hayes decides that we're going to throw it all away. And crashes in Q3. And hopefully we haven't destroyed the car. I can only pray. We're still top 3 though, so the crash isn't the worst thing. It is, do we have enough components to actually put a car together? And yeah, the answer to that is just no. He absolutely destroyed the entire vehicle. And the thing here is, we can get away with this right now. But this does guarantee that later on in the season, we are going to need to buy extra components, because that engine is not going to last a very long time. But other than that, we do have more than enough reserve parts. And as you can see, we're still working on the chassis. The gains are very minimal, so I haven't made them yet. But yeah, that crash is actually really, really bad for us. It is a pit lane start. Yeah, okay. Since we are pit lane starting anyways, let's just make it absolutely the best pit lane start we ever could. I guess it is because we're switching opponents here after qualifying has begun. I didn't think far enough, but that means the Baku will be the race where we go for new components and we pray he doesn't make them explode. So with that said, we could probably tweak the setup too. We've been around 90% or higher this season just to ensure that we have the confidence to not crash. But yeah, this is going to be a rough one. This is going to be a really, really rough race, no matter how I want to play this. I think the strategy here is going to be a pretty simple one. We go medium, we burn them early. We might even pit before lap 10 here, something like that, just to get him on those soft tires earlier. Basically, bridge a little bit of a gap there. Because the rest are expected here if they start on a soft tire, lap 16, lap 14. So basically, we want to go for a medium. We want to burn it, hit on lap 10, in order to ensure that we can catch up to the back of the order again. And basically try and just overtake as many cars as possible through the power of, well, basically just undercutting them. Now, Antonelli here will be playing also a key role on just holding everyone up. So let's see how this race goes. This is a terrible timing. Finally, we had a little bit of a breathing space. A little bit of a breathing space acquired. And then, of course, we go and just chuck it all away in qualifying. Lights out, away we go. And what we're going to do here with Antonelli is high overtake aggression, always defend. And looks like we aren't getting Porsche here at the start, unless, of course, we just brake and let him go for no good reason. And Hayes here. It's going to get out ahead of Lawson and Russell. And we are going to put him to rarely defend and low. We don't want to take any risks here. The first thing is just survival, then try and outplay them with the pit stops later on. We'll have to see if Hayes can keep the car on track for long enough, though, to make that happen. As he just does a beautiful move on the Alpine. And we might even have enough drag here to get the Aston, too. And, okay, that's a great start. Peak confidence is acquired. And with that, we should be looking good here. Get past the Aston once again. Let's see what Hayes can do in the race where he starts last. Well, we have just acquired a full safety car here. Hayes has not had a good start to this race. But Ocon and Tsunoda are out, and Behrman and Gasly has also picked up some sort of damage. Behrman looks to be front wing. This does change things a little bit. Sainz is actually pitting. What exactly happened here with Ocon? I assume he just got absolutely torpedoed there. Because that is what it looked like. Everyone is pitting here, but Antonelli, let's face it, Antonelli at 90% doesn't really need to pit. We can still use him as a blocker. But we are for sure getting Hayes in. Because of the yellow flag here, look at the gaps that are forming. That is disgusting, really. Even if we stay out, we're not really going to do a lot of jumping here. So we might as well just get in the pit lane. That is for the best. Yeah, Antonelli here on soft should be able to make something happen. I will have to consider what we do here. Go full attack here on these softs and just commit to another 2 stops. Because right now traffic is going to be an issue, and yeah, we're not going to have a good time here with Hayes. There's just no way around it. Hayes is still going to struggle. In the front here, Porsche has his own little incident here with Sainz. So he just ran into the back of him and picked up some front wing damage. But it was actually enough that Porsche has pitted out of the points here. Hayes have just pulled a double overtake on Behrman and Perez and is finally back into the points here. We aren't too far off for a pit stop, but behind basically this point still. But if we can get Vesti here, that is 5 seconds of clean air, and then we only have 2 cars, including Sergeant. Then we can start getting back into this. We are managing tires, the rest are not. So we'll have to see here if Sergeant, Hajar, Joe to some degree are going to get stuck in traffic when they do pit. As turns out, it seems we've had a little bit of a crash with Hayes. He is okay. Multiple cars have crashed. And it does seem that we have sent Charles Leclerc here to the Shadow Realm. A lot of cars have pitted ahead of us. Well, we did skid his tire there. We might actually get penalized for that one. We have moved up to 5th place here, but that is mainly just due to other cars having pitted. And what I'm going to do now is just get Antonelli in, get him into the pit lane here. And for Hayes, we're going to push and destroy these softs before we go in a final one for the final stint. And we did, in fact, pick up a 5-second penalty, because why not? This weekend, everything is going wrong. And it does not stop. Hayes has now found the wall. This has got to be one of Hayes' worst weekends. Crash in qualifying, destroying parts. Crash now. Or at least it's a light hit. So I guess we can pray that he didn't destroy his components. We can't actually check right now. But Baku has been a bad place for us. I don't think I can get Antonelli in, and honestly, we don't want to get him in either. The question now becomes, do we want Antonelli to score points here? Because, let's face it, Hayes is not scoring points at the moment. And honestly, they are close enough here that I think protecting Hayes and, you know, disallowing Martinelli from scoring points probably would be for the best. Allowing Lando to get full points here is acceptable. But Martinelli is the one that we'll be looking to block here, going towards the end of Baku. This could be what unravels this whole season. This little crash in Baku. Prep is done. There is a good nearly 30 points between Hayes and Antonelli, but that is manageable. 12 points gained here for Martinelli is just, you know, it is injury management. It is minimizing the losses. So I'm very, very happy with that result, all considered. Qualifying for Singapore has finished, and we have Hayes here in first. 3-place grid penalty here. And that is something that we can manage.
As they took turn 8. Not a lot of wiggle room here. The car's coming together right there. And thank you again.
That's a lot of soft tires behind me. They forgot the count, ref. They forgot the count. Yeah, let's see. Lap 25, yeah. That's not full wet. That is not full wet. Okay. It's going to mess things up a little bit, particularly from Hayes. What can we do here? If we go full attack, we can run standard. That's about it, really. We'll still just have to try and manage. Soft tires, by the time they get to lap 25, are going to be basically destroyed anyways. We can take a look at that just to give you an idea. So a soft tire, if they want to run them to lap 25, is it doable? Yes. They will have to run light though, and even then, it's just barely doable for our boy. So yeah, it's not really going to be a problem for the AI. They do like to destroy their tires though at the start. So we might have a chance to come back towards the end of this, but right now Hayes is dropping like... dropping pretty aggressively there as we see some phasing between the show and Martinelli. Yeah, we'll just have to try and make the best out of a pretty bad situation here. Hayes is considering continuing this runabout luck here with some front wing damage. Him and Sainz have had an incident. What exactly happened here? Yes, just a terrible overtake attempt. Looks like we've lost half an end plate, so we're not going to be swapping that front wing for the foreseeable future.
And the contact between the cars, inevitable. Now
I guess it's a blessing that we didn't kill Tsunoda, but that could be another penalty for Hayes. And we do need to swap that front wing out now, which means we're going to be losing a lot of time during the pit stops. Is the rain going up quick enough that we would benefit from pitting right now and swapping that front wing? I don't think so. We're still going to remain in top 10. Sainz is coming in. We're going to try and push for one more lap here. We do need to swap out that front wing purely because damage. But with 70mm already on track, a longer pit stop than expected because of the change of front wing, we kind of have to... We kind of have to just commit here. And that's a lot of time lost for no good reason there. right before we go into the pits. That's probably us losing out to either Ocon. Probably losing out to Ocon as a result. That is frustrating. 8.2 second stop.
And down in the pits. Oh, that's a
Slow pit stop as well. We are collecting every problem that we could imagine right now. So if we're lucky, never mind, we're not lucky. Why would I even open my mouth? Full safety car deployed here. Terminal chassis. Components are once again wrecked. This is the start of the downfall, isn't it? Okay. Positive news. Porsche and Martinelli is both in bad positions. But this safety car is going to throw some pretty bad wrenches into the plans here. What exactly did you do, Hayes? You actually bounced directly off the wall. That was a pretty hard hit, though, so I guess I should just be happy that we survived. But we're going to need another engine at this rate. So far this season, we've basically been able to isolate Hayes for the most part, so he doesn't really have anyone to lose confidence with, to crash with, that sort of thing, to keep it high. But we haven't been able to do that in the last couple of races, and we're now up to 4 DNFs. If we expect 2 more DNFs, as I said before the season, then it's still very likely that we might lose the title here with Hayes. I would like to try and revisit this and try and do it in just 3 seasons, maybe. That would be a ball ache, so maybe not. But yeah, Hayes, 30-ish points up to Antonelli, 30-ish points down to Porsche.
And the control's lost. Oh, dearie me, you don't want to be doing that.
Worst thing is, we just got through traffic, and now we're back in it. And we lost probably the tire advantage we had. We did, in fact, lose that too, so yeah. And to make matters worse, we have managed to crash. No real damage to components, but chassis front wing is gone again.
Now that incident looks to involve Oscar Piastri.
And if we pick up a penalty here too, then I'm going to be pretty upset.
With not much room to move.
Considering Piastri's ahead of us,
Has to be said,
yep, that is a point-blank penalty too for the race. We continue where I left off, and within 5 laps here, Hayes had picked up some damage from Guan Yu Show. Are we going to get another penalty? Probably, because that looked pretty much like we were sending him to the Shadow Realm. No, Show actually got the penalty this time, but we did pick up some minor front wing damage. But we'll have to see what we can do here in terms of hopefully getting some points. No, never mind. Hayes actually did get the penalty for that one. It was Show having enough damage to be retired. That actually happened. We're getting close to the end of this race. We have retired Antonelli simply because we can't really affect the top 2 here in any way, shape, or form. With that, Cher is going to get into a very, very close situation here with Hayes, which puts him at a high degree of risk. Our misery continues here in Mexico as Stroll, while being lapped, decides to touch Hayes, who had just pitted and is 20 seconds behind the podium at the moment, with Pocher leading. So as you can imagine, not good for us and our chances here, as the confidence takes a hit, tires takes a hit, and life gets a little bit rough. We will not be catching Norris, it just isn't happening here, but we will get 4th even with the back marker doing a number on our front wing there. With this, I believe we have fallen down to 3rd in the championship, 2 points behind Pocher. And we are going to need a really, really good result in the final few races here. Make up the difference. But yeah, Pocher now, 2 points advantage. Hopefully his car will explode soon. Let's cross our fingers, as Hayes has picked up damage for, I think, the 6th race in a row. The sprint has gone well so far. We've been basically just building tire advantage the entire time. And Hayes here has a good 20%, Antonelli a good 30%. Basically now we are going to be pushing with Hayes in the hopes of breaking the toe to Porsche and Norris. And then we'll have Antonelli swap places. Never mind, we do a spin. A spin to win, to continue the pain. Of course.
let's have a look at that. Things
Of
are
course.
right
Things cannot go well for us.
here. Oh, and around they spin. And there's
Just
not
like
much they
that.
can do about that now.
we put ourselves into a troublesome situation. But yeah, Hayes now. I wasted a lot of time. I think I just need Antonelli to win here to kind of limit the points loss a little bit. And for Hayes, it is just now push, 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 try and catch the McLarens. And honestly, it's going to be rough to do anything with them unless we get into DRS immediately. I'm going to do something stupid here. We're going to put Hayes on high overtake aggression. And we're either going to take out the McLarens, or we're going to hopefully overtake a McLaren. That is going to be the hope. Tire-wise, we still have a small advantage. But the DRS train is strong enough here that I think Hayes, unfortunately, will not be able to make anything happen. And what should have been a sprint win turns into a 4th place and another couple of points lost in the battle against Pocher. And basically, at this point, we no longer have Antonelli really to help us. Because Antonelli no longer has a point gap to give to us. We basically are running out of races here. And 4th place is the sprint result. Pocher does not get pipped by Norris, unfortunately.
Now we're watching the action closely here, and round they go. Not a mistake, they'll...
Brazil has been going our way. Well, not really. It's only gone our way in the sense that Pocher has just picked up a major ERS fault, which has slowed him down just as he is pitted. We have also Hayes here, who managed to pull off another spin in turn 8. Dropping down to out of the top 10, but isn't too far off good points here. Stanek and Ocon are not huge problems. So the reality is that we're just a couple of seconds off, potentially finishing pretty far up, which would be huge if we could pull that off. So we're going to see if we can move forward a little bit here, catch up to Tsunoda, get by, and then try and chase down Ocon and Stanek, who both need to pit once more. But we do the same. Not really a benefit for us at the moment. Pocher's mechanical fault has escalated here. Been running a 20%, right over 20% engine for a while. Finally, it did kick the bucket. So hopefully that means we might get a pit lane start for Pocher next race here. And unfortunately for him, he is out. That's going to give us a little bit of breathing space. But Hayes is still not out of trouble, really. We still need to gain enough points here that we can catch Antonelli. It's going to be our first problem. And the second problem is just stop this this habit lately of just crashing into everyone. Stanek pits. Bestie is still being a bit of a problem. We just can't pass him. He finally gets into the pit lane. See mechanical fault for Russell, Sainz, and Piastri now. But yeah, for Hayes, we're just going to push these tires before we go to another medium till the end. With 10 laps to go here, we're up in 8. We are going to try and chase Ocon for a podium. Stanek is doing a pretty heroic run, all things considered. But we do have a huge problem here with the traffic. We are struggling to overtake. And that is probably just going to get worse as time passes, even though that was a nice one. But we do have tire advantage. That tire advantage should grow. So hopefully we'll be able to get by. But without battery, it is a little bit challenging. So we are doing a little bit of recharging. But if we can clear Norris, I have high hopes that we'll be able to get Ocon by the end of this. And as we will probably end up retiring, that would mean a second place for Hayes. Antonelli would be the one to retire. But right now, it is looking very, very promising for once. Final lap is underway here. Hayes is currently running second. We unfortunately could not catch Stanek here. And Ocon is currently being a little bit of a nuisance, but we will get there. And as things stand, Hayes will be 24 points behind Antonelli. We'll have just 14 points there on Pocher. So it's not going to be a huge change, huge advantage. If we didn't have that spin that we've probably done 6 or 7 times this season, Stanek just barely got over the finish line. If we didn't have the spin that we've been doing a lot this season, we probably would have been fine. And I can see Gasly out, I can see Behrman out, so I assume that the AI is actually running out of fuel, and they are. A lot of AI running out of fuel here. But a good result for us. We will take that with us. 3 races to go here now.
The brakes couldn't cope. Just
In Vegas here, we have a red flag, and it has come at the perfect time for us.
happened as they arrived at turn 12.
As Piastri and one of the Red Bulls has had a little bit of a moment. But the reason why it has come at the perfect time is straight up the fact that we are supposed to pit right now with our strategy anyways. But Pocher pitted just a couple of laps ago, so he has already fallen down the order and is currently down in 14th. Martinelli pitted a little bit earlier than Pocher, so it's an 8. But this has worked out beautifully to our advantage. And hopefully we'll be able to keep this race injury-free for Hayes and build a little bit of a gap. That is a terrible start, however. Legendarily bad. And because I have Antonelli on Do Not Attack Teammate, we are having one of the slowest starts in Vegas history, I think. Norris getting a full second in the first corner as a result of that is honestly okay by me. We are literally just going to manage. For the most part, we're going to be using Antonelli as defense. And we're going to see here if we can get something done. Honestly, Norris winning this race wouldn't be a terrible thing for us. So I'm going to allow him to just get away. We're getting to the end of this race, and it's gone very well so far. We're basically using Antonelli here as a bit of a launch pad. He has saved a lot of tire at 60%. Hayes is at 35 and about to enter the pit. But basically, what we've done here is basically used Antonelli's excess tire and full attack as a way to help ourselves out, as we just got another red flag. That's actually kind of bad for us. I'm not gonna lie. Who has caused this? Stanek. He is going to do the exact same thing Pocher did and just hit the wall. That's kind of bad for us, because that now means there's going to be basically a sprint till the end, and that is going to potentially put us at risk. Pocher in 5th would not be in a threat. Norris in 3rd would not have been a threat. This red flag is causing some issues. We can only pray that we get a good start, which of course we do not. Get a terrible start from Hayes, and Pocher might even get him too. Yeah, of course he does. That is horrible. Antonelli now will be given the full duty of just slowing everyone down. And in terms of tire here, Norris has
Overtake available.
fresh tires. We are just going to try and stay within DRS and try and build a tiny little tire advantage here. Oh, never mind. He decides he wants to get aggressive, and please get out of the way now, Antonelli. Honestly, don't fight, teammate. Let him go. Come on. There we go. And Antonelli now will try and create a gap for basically Hayes and Norris at this point. I am fine with letting them go. Full attack till the end is doable. That's exactly what we'll do. And as you can see, Antonelli is already buying a decent chunk of time here, although he's probably going to get overtaken by Sonoda. That is fine. The only goal we have here with Antonelli right now is to give Hayes as much breathing space as possible. That is the only job Antonelli has before he will retire from this race. Again, Pocher as far down as possible. Everyone else as high as possible is going to be the name of the game. So far, it is going very well. Once we catch up to Norris here, we're going to try and manage our tires, try and manage our energy to a point where Norris will not be able to get away from us. That's going to be the whole goal. But Antonelli right now, we've just restarted the race. 5 seconds is what he's bought us, and hopefully we'll be able to get a little bit more time. Ocon has left the station, that is fine. Pocher is again the problem child that we will be focusing our efforts on too. And again, as long as Hayes can keep up with Norris, we are going to try and use as little resources as possible to make that happen. And in another twist here, we have a full safety car into another red flag. My god, this is sabotage of the highest order. It is a red car that has crashed. It is Vesti, or rather, not a red, a blue.
And There's the contact.
That wall seems to be a problem. But yeah, another red flag, another terrible start from our low reactions could literally end this for us. So we'll have to see what we can do. At least Antonelli has advantage over Martinelli and Pocher. But Hayes really would like to get the win here.
The drivers are lined up, awaiting the lights. And it's
Lights out and away we go. We're going to go full deploy, attack, everything here. And Antonelli, keeping him as is probably okay. Not the worst start Hayes have ever had. Actually pretty decent. Managed to hold on to the lead. That is huge. That is not something that happens all the time. Norris, Tsunoda, Ocon, everyone here on all tires. Pocher on 78% one tires. Same for Martinelli. It's actually huge for us. So I'm going to have Antonelli go full attack, push, and deploy here. And the goal is going to be very simple. I want to see if I can get up to Norris and basically start causing some problems from there. But we've had a decent restart. Hayes is getting away just a little bit here. Probably not going to get fully away. Slipstream and soon to be DRS. But it is better than nothing. And if we can get Antonelli here in a position to cause Norris some pain, that would also be great. Tsunoda there, a little bit better in a straight line. Hayes is pushing. Can we push for the remaining 3 laps in terms of energy? Probably not. And we've already been overtaken here by Norris. So we're going to do what we did last time. We're just going to settle in behind if possible. Antonelli is also getting part of this mix, so he could cause some problems. But honestly, Antonelli might actually be better off just retiring right now. That is what we expected. Antonelli is not on don't fly teammate, but we should put him there. And honestly, I think we're just going to get Antonelli out of the way before we get another red flag and he scores a bunch of points. We are going to start pushing now. It's just this to go. And maybe we'll get a little bit of help here from Antonelli if we can get the overtake done and have him block Norris. He is in fact doing the helping move there. Okay, that would actually be kind of a bannable offense if you ask me. Antonelli right there cost Norris a good 2 seconds in the fight for the win in this race. That is actually kind of wild that he actually managed to pull that off. That should have been illegal. That should carry a penalty, if you ask me. But Antonelli now, with a bunch of free air, final lap, is going to take the win here in Vegas in a race that has had its issues. Pocher comes 5th, Martinelli comes 10th. Both of those are huge for us and will definitely affect the championship here in our favor. How are we looking right now in terms of the drivers? Hayes have retaken the lead ahead of Antonelli. Pocher is a full race worth of points behind, which means that for the last 2 races here, we just need a couple of decent results. We don't need to win. If we get close to the podium in both of them, it is over and done in our favor. Vegas here being a huge swing for Hayes. Finally a win after all the pains that we've gone through the last few races here. Let's head to Qatar, see if we can keep this up. So a final driver development update here, and I do think that once we cap a stat, they're still getting experience for it because we only get 4 points this month. So that is not a lot. And I believe it was similar last month, so yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe we need to switch something else. We're still 15 points ahead in reactions over smoothness. So yeah, reactions definitely grown a lot quicker than the smoothness has.
Now we're watching the action closely here. Whoa, and around they spin. And a wonder.
This is a common scene at this point, and that is Hayes has found the wall. Sprint qualifying 3. He realized that we had a lot of
Heading into turn 1.
we had a race worth of failure,
And ends up making
and he tries to, I think, maybe destroy the gearbox there. That could be bad. We do have spare parts, But depending on the damage, that could still be pretty bad for us. With that said, though, we'll finish quali, and then we'll take a look at the damage caused in that spin to win moment. All right, let's see what damage
We're back.
we've been caused by Hayes' latest escapade. Car parts missing, 29% gearbox. And as you can see, we have a new chassis, C10, but even that would give us not even a full percent of anything. So we have kind of reached a cap of what the car is capable of. And even with the suspension here, we only get a 0.5 percentage worth of extra tire preservation. So I'm just making them in order to gain expertise, really. Now, the gearbox, we do have a spare one. We actually have kind of 2 spares. I'm going to use this one for the sprint because I think if I switch it right now, I'm going to get penalized. So we're starting 10th. It's not too bad. The confidence here is a bit of an issue because I messed up the setup because it's a sprint weekend. But nothing really much more to do here. We're just going to have to put him on full conserve. And honestly, we're going to do the same here for Antonelli. Full conserve, burn a little bit of fuel at the beginning. Or rather, we'll just get full conserve there too. And try and hold everyone up. Again, Hayes doesn't need to score a lot of points. He just needs to score some points. So any points gained from a sprint here, even with that crash, would be huge. We are getting to the end of the sprint, and currently we're not really in a position to gain anything. The powertrain is worried over the temperature right now. But we might be able to get a couple of improvements here. The question just is, do we want Antonelli to score points here? And I think the answer to that is going to be yes. It's fine for Antonelli to score points in the sprint and take, 1 point away from Pocher, because we'll be able to get that back with later. So I am fine with that. Now, as I mentioned, the goal is to get Show, Martinelli, and Tsunoda. Get a couple of points here potentially on the board for Hayes. That would be huge. It's going to be difficult though, DRS train and all. But we have to try, and since we are peak confidence right now, we're going to take a bit of a risk. And you all know the risk I'm talking about. We're going high overtake aggression. That should be enough to get Show this corner. And 2 laps to go. We need at least 1 more car, but hopefully 2, maybe even 3 if we're lucky. As we do have slight tire advantage. Now, Fantinelli, I don't really need him to beat Norris, so we'll just let him do what he's doing. And with Tsunoda falling back here, this could be huge for Hayes. Be huge. Huge chance to just get him on the DRS on this next lap. But at the same time, Magnussen and Martinelli are running away with it. Are we going 3 wide? We are, in fact, going 3 wide. With that, Hayes has gotten by, but does get overtaken by Show. That's not good. I think that means Hayes is not scoring any points here. Pocher is going to be picking up 6. That is very unfortunate for us, but that is just the reality of crashing in quali and struggling on a track where smoothness is king. We are ready here for the race in Qatar. Pocher qualify a little bit poorer. We once again qualify 1-2 here. Hayes loses a position on race start, which has become quite a tradition. And honestly, if Antonelli, it is back to the slow everyone down job, basically. Yeah, we're going to try and take advantage of being slower because we need to manage tires. See if we can eke out the few points that we would need to keep Pocher at bay. Currently, we are very, very healthy still. I don't know if this includes the sprint points, but I have to see if we can keep that gap going. Hayes right now is going for the overtake. It's going to go for the double overtake. So with that, we do the classic thing with Antonelli where we tell him to step aside, please. He has done that. I am going to keep him on Don't Fight Teammate just to ensure that he stays behind. With that, we have gotten a good start to this race. Put him on Harvest 2 to slow down the cars further behind even more. We're getting to the first pit stop here, and Antonelli has bought 8 seconds for Hayes versus Pocher here. which is huge. Norris was also running with them, who just pitted. We're going to take Hayes through one more lap here. Then we are going to get the pit lane. Norris is currently in 9th here. And honestly, we should be able to beat Stroll out, which would be the big one. So hopefully we can pull that off. The season here could come to a very anticlimactic end if we do defend it properly here. And for Antonelli now, time to go light and a little bit of deploy. Ensure that we don't let Pocher get away here. Ace with a clean stop. Where do we come out? We come out in 3rd ahead of Show. That is actually huge. It'll be yellow flag there. Hopefully not Hayes. It's Antonelli who's done an overtake. Basically back to slowing down Pocher now. But so far, a great start to this race. We are getting to the point where we're going to do the final pit stop here. Ace is currently running in 1st. Antonelli 2nd. Can actually go till the end on these this medium set. And we have Norris and Pocher, who has gone to a medium and a hard respectively. So Hayes here should have a huge advantage in basically beating both of them out of the pit lane here, I would think. And then having tire advantage as well as 5 seconds on Norris, 13 seconds on Pocher. As long as Hayes keeps it on track here, he should potentially be able to clinch the title today. As we're getting close to the end here, Hayes is running 1st, Antonelli 2nd, then we have Norris and Pocher. And honestly, at this point, I am tempted to just retire Antonelli because that would clinch the championship as things stand. Hayes would be 1 point ahead, but theoretically, because Antonelli could still beat him. Well, I guess he theoretically could still beat him in the final race. So it will not actually clinch the championship here. But it would settle it for Hayes as the winner of a title at 65 overall, starting at 1. So I think we are going to just retire Antonelli to make it a little bit safer, because I'm a bit unsure if the live standings actually contain sprint results. So Antonelli has done an honorable work here. We are going to put him into the pit lane.
So box.
With this, we'll just see if Hayes can hold off for that little time that remains. 3 laps here. We don't really need to put him at risk or anything. We'll just keep him as is. Back markers have taken us out before. Hopefully these 3 will not cause us any pain and suffering. I say as there is a Haas close behind me. Please don't tell me, Sergeant. It's Gasly. Honestly, that's not more helpful because Gasly has also crashed a lot this season. But yeah, this is Hayes coming in to basically clinch the title. And it took us 5 years. It took us growth up to 65 overall. He's actually grown pretty quickly if you consider it like that. We have clinched basically a title here. Hayes takes the win. It is what we love to see. Norris going to come 2nd here, Pocher going to take 3rd. With that, as I mentioned, I believe that means no one else except for Antonelli could be a threat here.
Sometimes I think you just have to accept that it's not going to be your race.
That'll be quite a blow, having to cut their race short.
Yeah, Hayes takes the win here. Driver's done. Still a theoretical opportunity for Antonelli to win, because of those 7 points from the sprint, but that also does mean the standings did include the sprint. That wasn't a concern. Pocher cannot catch us at this point. He can get 345 as his maximum. At this point, Hayes has in fact taken the title. Constructors then, we do win that one as well. Can't really get beaten there. So it took us a little bit longer than I probably would have thought. 2029. But we have pulled it off. And honestly, the amount of crashes we've had in sprints and qualifying has been high. But it's better to crash there than anywhere else. And Hayes also gets improvement here to 66. We will take that. Now, interesting enough, because of all of our buffs, our development rate has been maxed for both Antonelli and, of course, for Hayes here this entire season. All 5 of these seasons, basically. And we also did max the staff pretty early on because of the buffs through our facilities, in particular our team up here. 505% weekly development buff. No, that buff does not, I'm pretty sure, apply to the drivers, because that would basically mean we could get upwards of 50 points on a good weekend, or rather good month. So Yeah, that's not happening, as you can imagine. Just curious here, what about the other buildings that got bufferino? None of these. The CFD sim is getting a little bit of a buff, 64% effectiveness at 0% condition. Just a shame it's basically useless. With the factory here, we now have 20 slots, 58% development speed. It's actually been pretty helpful to get that buff there from the sponsors. With that said, I think we're going to just end the challenge here. I will run the final race to allow Casey to get his win. We'll have that play as the outro, basically a celebration. And with that said, been a bit of an interesting challenge. We did pull it off. Growth has been pretty good here. He's now 24 years old. We went from 2024 to 2029. That was enough to get us to 66 overall and a title here. I have to say, we've probably been a little bit lucky. We have been able to avoid a lot of DNFs. But it's also the fact that Antonelli has probably been more important than Hayes in this challenge, simply because we've been able to use Antonelli as that blocker, have him always defend, turn him all the way low. If I had a similarly rated driver next to Hayes, this would not have happened this season. No way. No way Hayes didn't get this done without a massive amount of help from Antonelli. But yeah, the season ended with a win here, 2029. I think we can be happy with that. Maybe we'll revisit this challenge some other time. Maybe you guys have some opinions / complaints / well, I don't know. Anything really to add to this. But yeah, it's potentially a challenge that I would like to revisit with, say, we start with max facilities. And we try and basically get a win with a 1-rated driver after the big regulation change season. I think that could be fun to try too. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed. It's been a while since last uploaded, basically because this has taken a lot of time. Probably should have made some other videos before this one, but that's my bad. I still hope that you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to try out this challenge. I'm going to make a couple of videos next on basically driver training, driver growth, things you can do to make that a little bit more effective, and also on the sponsors, because I haven't really made a video that just highlights how broken you can do stuff on longer saves with the sponsors, as you've seen in this one. Yeah, that is it. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Let us have a look at Hayes celebrating this win, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.